Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ring Post Radio Live. We are coming at you live, talking all about AEW X New Japan, X CMLL, X Stardom, X. I think that's it. X Forbidden Door. We're talking about Forbidden Door. These are instant live reactions to Forbidden Door. If you're hearing this after the fact, this is being recorded. I think the pay-per-view ended, 15, 20 minutes or so ago. And we are talking live immediately following. I'm your host, Ryan Knightsey. With me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, Scotty Edwards. Scotty, how you doing today?
I'm tired. For a 15-match show, it at least had a good pace to it, but there were other problems, which we'll talk about. But coming off a great main event, at least, so the vibes are a lot higher than they were going in to said main event.
I think that's fair. There was definitely the match, the show length, despite being 15 matches long, did not feel long. It wasn't like the show length, what the matches, number of matches wasn't the reason that it felt long. It was just sort of like an enthusiasm thing through the television screen that was like, all right, let's give me a little bit more. But we'll talk about that more in a second. Obviously, this is Ring Post Radio. We're Ring Post Radio Live here right now. If you have any questions or comments or concerns about the pay-per-view, we want to hear what you're talking about, what you think about the pay-per-view. So leave those questions in the chat below, or you can even leave us a voicemail. I'm not going to answer the phone, obviously, but if you leave us a voicemail at 2525 Ring PR, we will. I'll play it. I'll play it. Why don't you?
I think it's important that you say that because I would be scared for you to answer.
Yeah, I just. Hello,
hey,
ring, ring, hello. So yeah, and then we'll have the Jey Uso Yeet head be the caller. We should put a phone. We should put a phone next to the Jey Uso Yeet head, and then have like an animation like the South Park Canadian head thing. Anyways, I don't know how to do any of that. What did you think about AEW's Forbidden Door pay-per-view? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you in the middle? What were your thoughts overall of the pay-per-view?
In the middle on the overall show that is Forbidden Door. I think we've become spoiled when it comes to the Forbidden Door show, because remember year one, the vibes were down going into it. Injury after injury kind of destroyed that card, and yet it left us blown away because of how much overachieves. Last year, obviously, we have the big double matches going into it. The two big main events, plus I thought just a really, really good show. So going into this year, you look at the card, there was enough to say this could be the best one yet. As TK said on the Observer this week, this was the most he's actually been able to build the card and what he had a vision of. So when the show's over and you walk away like, it had its ups and downs, I think in many ways it is a letdown of a show. That's not to say it was a bad show. It was not a bad show. But for where my expectations were going into this show and how many matches I was amped up for, it's a letdown.
I get where you're coming from. I think there is definitely I explained this to you in a message, but it's weird because it's there is a little bit of a letdown. There's a little bit of a disappointment. I think the show looked better on paper than it possibly was in practice. I think for a lot of it. I think a lot of the issues with the crowd were there. I had personal issues with the commentary. We'll get to that. I think there was some. Wasn't really much chemistry issues. I felt like, but I wouldn't say chemistry issues. But then there was there wasn't like last pay-per-view where there was a chockload of interferences. We did have a good amount of clean finishes here. I believe every match had a clean finish. Hold on, running through on my tabulator of my brain. I would like to say I think everything had a clean finish here, so that's an improvement.
I think they
Overcorrected a little bit.
overcorrected because there was at least one or two matches. Like, I feel like it would make sense here for the story instead we got a three-way kiss.
Or
Triple threat kiss.
a triple kiss or a three-way kiss. We got to figure out the verbiage here.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. I rather a overcorrection on that than an undercorrection. I'll say that after last show, I much prefer this way. I'll say that. I'm not complaining.
But what I was saying was that ultimately there is a level of disappointment. But if you listen to the Ring Post Radio episode this morning, folks at home, then you would know like our adjective that we applied to the mid-year review of AEW, and that was frustrating. I don't feel frustrated coming out of the show. There is a little bit of disappointment, but I'm glad that I'm not angry coming out of it. For a lot, there's still like issues that I have with the show, but there is this weird thing of there is a familiar level of disappointment in this show. And it's not necessarily this whole show is bad, this whole show is great, but it was just like some pretty good stuff, but a lot of different things that I was just kind of like I didn't really like or enjoy that may or may not be because of the individual matches or whatever, that just left me wanting more, which is a familiar feeling that I personally have been having with AEW for quite a while now when I'm watching this television show. There is a feeling of wanting more, of it didn't quite get to that next gear, it didn't quite get to the next step, and there was something missing. And to me, I think that kind of sums up my feelings about the Forbidden Door card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that a bad thing? Or is that my expectations? I don't know.
I don't know. I think maybe moving forward, you have to have your expectations lower, because I think that's where I am now. I think I need to not expect everything to over deliver like AEW did for the better part of a year, 2 years. At least with the pay-per-views, I think that's important. There was still a lot of great wrestling on this show. I just think I expected greater wrestling. And we'll talk about the crowd. The crowd, I think, did no favors for anyone in this match. I think it didn't allow certain matches to raise higher up. When I watch American wrestling, I feel like the crowds for my entertainment are always a little more important, because when you're watching, I feel like if these crowds are dead, you feel it more. And maybe that's just a me thing. And it's maybe because like I watch so many different types of crowds in the other wrestling I watch, so it doesn't affect me as much there. But when I watch US wrestling, I need that crowd to be there. And boy, oh boy, were they there for the main event. I said to you earlier on Ring Post Radio, I said, more matches is a bad thing because the crowd will be tired for the main event. Little did I know they were just waiting for the main event the entire show, which was, in my opinion, worse. I'm not saying I would have rather them be quiet for the main event. Not at all. But boy, oh boy, would have loved for them to be loud for the 14 matches ahead of it. You and me watched the pre-show, and we're like, oh, this is pretty loud for like not a full arena yet. And then they just stopped.
So I was thinking about that all show, because it did feel like in that pre-show, the 0 hour, that the crowd was reacting well, into it, loud. And I think my conclusion from that was just that I think all the freakazoids, the sickos out there, showed up early because they knew what they were going to get in the 0 hour. Where the common folk, let's say, think that pre-shows are throwaway matches that don't
Mhm.
matter in any capacity, so why show up early?
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think then when that other half of the crowd showed up for the rest of
Mhm.
the show, you then got a full arena that half the crowd was into a good amount of time, but you can't hear them as much anymore, and the other half is reacting to the big spots but nothing else in a classic WWE-esque fashion. And this is a trend that has been happening in AEW for
Mhm.
the past little bit. The
Take
crowd
Revolution out,
take
by the way.
Revolution out. I think that's a different crowd, but you got Toronto, you got New York now, you got a bunch of different towns that they've been hitting where the crowds have not been great.
Mhm.
They have been lackluster.
Mhm.
And at this point, it's no longer a conversation about, oh, this city was not great, this city was not great. When you are going to well-known wrestling cities and getting poor crowd reactions multiple times in a number of weeks, number of months, it is no longer an issue of the crowds. It is the product.
Right. Yeah. You get the big test on Wednesday. You're in Chicago. If that crowd's quiet, then we're in big trouble. Like
Mhm. Mhm.
Chicago, I think is the heartbeat of wrestling cities here in America. Like that's the loudest. Typically, like for a normal show, if you go there, that's usually going to be the loudest. We're talking about a New York crowd, and I'm seeing people say you shouldn't go back to New York on Twitter, and I think that is a conversation to be had. I just watched SmackDown and MSG sold out. That crowd was as loud as possible.
Yeah.
So like,
Years ago, this company was outdrawing WWE in the New York area, not just New York City, the New York area, the tri-state area, outdrawing them.
I
And,
do think there's
and then
something.
WWE was putting up crappy numbers with Roman Reigns in the main event in Madison Square Garden.
I do think there's something to be said about back-to-back wrestling shows in New York. Maybe something I didn't take in consideration. I'm not gonna like put a lot on that, but it's something. Not everyone's gonna spend the ticket on both shows that may really love wrestling right now. That's just something to think about. 17K paid for tickets the other day, and they still got 10K for this show. I'm sure, but
Yes, I believe they officially crossed the 10K before the
okay,
show started. I don't
okay.
know. I don't know what the update is, but I'll get that last number in a moment.
But overall, UBS was a real letdown tonight. And I think I should have known when MJF got he got a pop, but it wasn't as loud as he usually gets when he's in Long Island. And I said to you, like, I kind of wish like this was over. He's like, it is his hometown. I was like, yeah, but like it was still kind of, and then it was quiet for the rest of the show. You got pops here and there.
Yeah.
And at some points, I thought to myself, is this like a WWE crowd that's at an AEW show? Because when did they get into it? They got into it for the big ladder match, right? Like they got into it for that. They got into it for booing Mercedes, which was, like the type of thing a WWE crowd would boo the
Oh,
opponent, right? The Boston, New York thing.
yeah.
That
To be fair, they're really booing Boston more than they're booing
They
Mercedes.
are, but every time she started doing stuff, they booed her.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and she embraced it. I think that's what she's really good at.
And look, if that leads to a heel Mercedes Moné, I'm not opposed.
Not now. No, no, no. Can't happen now.
Mhm.
Not with who she's wrestling. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
know who my heel is.
Uh,
God.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
We'll get to Scotty's thoughts.
I don't remember what else I was gonna say.
At
That's
one
just stopped me.
at 1:17 p.m., according to WrestleTix, 10,184 tickets distributed. That's with several hours left in walk-up. So we'll see. I don't think they're crossing 11 there. I think it's probably like a 10.5, 10.75, something like that. So, 3,000 down from last year, 3,000 up from the last time they were in UBS Arena. So I think that 10K is good. Lil Rich in the chat. Hello. You're expecting a good product because that's what they used to produce. Even Double or Nothing was terrible, okay matches, but they're the botches or drag wrestling matches. I think that brings up, I think the question within this statement here, Lil Rich, sorry, not Little, I'm too white. Lil Rich is expecting a good product because that's what they used to produce. TV has changed, but pay-per-views have always been a standard set in AEW.
Are the pay-per-views catching up?
That's the question here. Are the pay-per-views catching up? Was Dynasty the last one? No.
No, Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing was the last one. Dynasty. I mean, it's two's not great. 3 is the trend.
Dynasty's good. Dynasty had a hot crowd.
I feel like Dynasty had a hype.
Had Danielson and Ospreay. Swerve got the world title.
Yep.
It was a good show.
You and I both looking at the cage match because none of us remember what was on Star. It was a 9 out of 10 on cage match. Kazuchika Okada Pac.
Yeah, that was a good show.
I'll say Roddy Strong, Kyle, Ospreay, Danielson, Young Bucks versus FTR. That was a ladder match as well. Oh, look at that!
I thought Tony and Thunder Rosa over delivered as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a good show. So I won't count that. We're at 2 though. We're at 2 in a row.
We're at 2.
I think All In's gonna break it. So
I'm not throwing in the towel right now because two's not great, but if we get to 3, and the good news is on that front, like you just said, Scotty, the next one is All In.
The next 2 is All In, and then Chicago All Out, right? They're in Chicago, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they might be saved by their typical spots.
If they're not saved, All Out in Chicago is going to be a real rough convincing me.
Well, we thought that last year. We thought that last year too. Like that's the thing. You doubt AEW pay-per-views last year at times, and then boom, they over-deliver because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens again with that card, I don't know if I'm going to have that confidence this time at all. But I am getting back to the idea of underassuming what could be coming from these pay-per-views because unless there is a big world title match or a big, the same points have hit for me the past few shows, I would say. But it's going to be an interesting time to get there, right? We have Blood and Guts coming up. We have the Beach Break show this week.
Yep.
Those shows will be interesting crowd-wise. I think those are worth monitoring as well because those 2 are very big shows that matter a lot. So we'll see. Obviously, there's a big card to go through here. I have no idea if there's a scrum going on. I'm going to assume no. It's only 12:30.
There is a scrum going on. They just started, but did you know that they started with a recap before the recap of the pay-per-view before they scrum, which Matt Menard came out and called it a pre-show for the scrum.
That's funny. I don't mind doing the recap because some people may have not ordered the show, and it's the idea of you're trying to get those late pay-per-view buy type things. So I think that's fine. And you're going to show your best highlights. So
yes, basically the scrum. Well, you can go through the scrum. You typically go through the scrum while
I'll go through the scrum when it matters. Usually doesn't matter, but I'll go.
Yeah. I'm master of ceremonies, and you're Professor Scrum.
I don't like that at all.
That's fair. No one wants to be Professor Scrum. It's like
I want to be
Professor Scrum's last pick in dodgeball. That's what Professor Scrum is. Let's talk about this show. We'll start off with, I think, the big news items before we get to, before we get to the actual proper card. I think there are 2 big news items that came out of the show. Number 1 is that New Japan, well, I guess really New Japan because they served it up as New Japan announcing this, announced formally a new show. Is this replacing New Year's Dash? Maybe. But at the very least, On Wrestle Kingdom Day, January 4th, you're going to have your usual New Japan Wrestle Kingdom show. And then the next day in the Tokyo Dome, January 5th, is going to be Wrestle Dynasty, New Japan, Ring of Honor, AEW, Stardom, and CMLL all joining together in the Tokyo Dome in Dave Meltzer's house. And they are going to put on another dream card match show in Japan. So what is your initial reactions to Wrestle Dynasty's announcement?
So I had two reactions. One, great to see. That was my initial reaction. That's an exciting show. Hilarious to put Ring of Honor on there, but a great show. That was one of my thoughts. I was looking through. I was like, oh, awesome. I see you snuck them in there. I don't know why you did, but you did. But it's great. It's awesome. It gives, a lot of people a chance to wrestle in the Tokyo Dome. It is the Forbidden Door in Japan that everyone's been asking for under a different name. For those that don't remember, Wrestle Dynasty is a forgotten name for what was supposed to be an MSG show in 2020.
Wait, really? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. Wrestle Dynasty was going to be a big show for New Japan, and then it got canceled. It was going to be on August 22nd, 2020. It was a big time show.
Was it also MSG?
Yeah, it was going to be MSG. And
Really?
the pandemic obviously ruined that. So they have now taken the name. No one seems to remember. I remembered it because once upon a time, I got something from New Japan. They sent me a free Wrestle Dynasty sticker. I was like, oh, they really want to get rid of these. Understandably so. See, here it is.
How interesting.
Yeah, it was a thing.
Vaguely remember that?
Yeah. A lot of people forgot because once COVID happened, it was like out of sight, out of mind type of thing.
Exactly.
But it's exciting. The other thing that I thought about is how is that show going to draw? Because history says the second day of Wrestle Kingdom, or one of the days of Wrestle Kingdom when they were doing the two, never drew as big as the other.
Correct.
Usually it was because of the holiday. The 4th is a holiday, and the 5th isn't. However, both shows are on the weekend, so it should draw well depending on interest from Japan regarding these big shows. You know what? Are you on the same page with me of what's going to be the main event?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious.
What?
Well, of course, it'll be probably New Japan champion at the time, Zack Sabre Jr. Will be defending his title against. Oh, who would be a really good opponent? Man, it's a shame his best opponent will probably be retired. But
see,
wouldn't it be nice if that was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson?
so my thought is there might not be a world title match because
I was
of the
this
day
close
before.
to making a joke that it should be evil, but continue.
I don't think there'll be a big world title match because of the day before.
That's fair. That's fair.
You're hopefully crowning.
But that also brings up like what is this show if you're not going to have the IWGP World Heavyweight title on the line?
Do you think New Japan would have a problem putting Okada in the main event? I don't think so.
Or the AEW title in the main event?
I don't know. It's fun to think about. One of the first things that popped in my mind as a special match for that show was Okada versus Omega.
Yeah. Oh, if Omega's not ready by Wembley, you could do that in the Tokyo Dome. Yes.
I feel like that's a real possibility if you're not doing it for Wembley, which, unless I've missed something, I don't really feel confident about that yet. And it would draw. You're trying to draw at the end of the day, right? This is back-to-back Tokyo Dome shows. And I think it'll be interesting, too, because how much involvement will AEW have on Wrestle Kingdom itself now with the day after having involvement? Maybe we see more of other Japanese companies being involved on Wrestle Kingdom instead.
That seems plausible. They do have this sort of joint promotion, everybody, so that seems certainly plausible.
Because I'm trying to, I think that might be more interesting. And then the next day, you can just save all AEW stuff for that. Either way, I'm excited, though. You made a great point. I'm excited about this Forbidden Door show while I'm watching Forbidden Door.
I was like,
it's a very cool show.
That should be great. I'm like, I'm watching the same exact product right in front of me.
And I am also running with the idea this show is strictly made to give Mercedes Moné her Tokyo Dome match. So,
sure.
I like that idea that when she signed her contract, she's like, all right, needs Tokyo Dome match. And Tony Khan was like, I don't know how you want me to promise that.
I'll figure it out.
To work. Get to work, buddy.
Talk to Rocky. What if Mercedes Moné had a Tokyo Dome match? Who would it be?
I have no idea.
Me neither. She's already faced. Mayu. I guess really only Mayu at this point right now because everyone else left.
She faced Mayu. She did the Azumi Hazuki 3-way match. Kairi's gone. Yeah, I don't know.
Tam? That would be nice, I guess.
Probably. That's their biggest star, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Micah?
Julie? Oh, no, she's gone.
I guess you could do
Micah.
Micah, maybe.
That's a good one. Mina?
Mina makes sense.
Mina's very over right now, so maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the match would be.
I don't know what it would be. I don't think this would be big, but I love it. Jeff Bugenhagen in the chat. Moné versus Starlight Kid in the Tokyo Dome. Ooh.
Starlight Kid's very popular. The thing is, it's whoever Moné probably wants. So why am I putting so much thought into it?
That's fair.
If she gets her choice, she might pick Azumi at this point.
Get
the one-on-one match she never got. I don't know, but Wrestle Dynasty, very cool, very exciting. Just what we needed. 2 shows of massive to be added to an already massive time in wrestling. Just what we needed.
Hey, I'm down for it. And
that's also probably a week after World's End. Not even.
I'm looking it up right now. It's a week. It's literally a week after. December 28th is a Saturday. The next Saturday is January 4th.
Brother.
It's January. No, well, that's the thing. It's typically a holiday weekend, right? Or holiday is January 4th. That's a Saturday. January 5th is a Sunday.
Yeah, that's why they're probably doing it. I'm sure if they want to make it an annual thing, they'll have to change it up.
I think if I recall, that was also kind of the issue with doing. That's how they started doing, I believe, the dual.
Yes.
The 2-day event, Wrestle Kingdom, is because it was a weekend, and then next year everyone was like, "Well, what are they going to do? It's not a weekend anymore."
A lot of less people showed up. Should be fun. I'm excited.
It should be interesting.
Can't wait for the Ring of Honor match.
Mark Briscoe, assuming he's still champion, versus pulling
Mystico.
Mystico would be fun, but I want to.
It says CMLL. I am booking Mystico.
I assume this is New Japan heavy with a bunch of New Japan guys. So I think the most interesting one for Mark Briscoe would be Gabe Kidd might be the most interesting. I think Gabe Kidd might be the most interesting and the most logical in terms of Ring of Honor as a, sub promotion in a weird way. Anyways,
Mark Briscoe versus Ryohei Oiwa.
Now we're talking.
No.
Now we're talking with logic. The other big news that came out of it, speaking of Moné, is Britt Baker finally made her return from injury at this show at Forbidden Door following Mercedes Moné's title win. Britt Baker came out and kind of hinted at probably this being a challenge. Oh, my camera went. Oh, there we go. Probably hinted at this being sort of challenge, and I think Scotty and I both believe this is definitely going to be the Wembley match at All In London. So what do you think about Britt Baker returning, and what do you think about the possibility of that being the match at Wembley?
The 1-2 punch of Britt Baker returning and then the Wrestle Dynasty thing was like, hold on. My head was spinning. I don't like Britt Baker. Plain and simple. I do not like her. I've said it on this show.
I am less harsh on Britt Baker, but her last run was not great. I'll say.
I know a lot of people were saying, this is the big money match, and I'm sure it will, and I'm sure Wembley will be hot for it.
I would argue that any Mercedes match is the big Moné match.
Exactly. Good pun. Exactly. Like I don't think this. I feel like we're wasting Mercedes. Personally, because I think Mercedes can have one of the best matches of the show with just someone really great on the roster. I don't think the opponent actually mattered. Like I don't think Britt Baker's selling extra tickets. Truthfully, I just don't. And I knew it was coming. Like I knew this match, whenever Britt Baker comes back, it was coming. But if we're pairing this now, so Mercedes Moné, one of the wrestlers I most look forward to in AEW, with Ospreay and MJF, man, it's like you're driving, you're poking at me, and you're like, have at it. And listen, I know both of those matches are going to be hot for the majority of AEW crowds. I am not that. She got a big pop though, and she's been gone forever.
Can't deny the pop.
I can't deny the pop. I can't deny that a lot of people find her to be a star. But what I can say is I'm not excited, because I'm not. The promo battles have me wanting to cry.
Harold Barang. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Harold, from X. Britt to make way for Hater at All In.
Oh my God, that would be the dream.
That'd be nice.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that like I think that's the better work ratey match, obviously, but is that a bigger money match than Britt, who's obviously one of the bigger stars in the company?
Is it a bigger money match?
I mean,
overall,
I would put my money on it.
Overall,
I'd spend all my money, my pounds of sterling and whatnot on there.
I'd be that gif. Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
For All In, it is the bigger match, Jamie versus Mercedes. For the overall AEW, probably not, because Britt's been positioned as the top women's star, and in many ways this will be the match to have Mercedes officially replace her as the top women's star, as if we needed a match to know that. Just look at the paycheck, buddy.
What about the back-to-back? What if we did Jamie Hayter? This is all the assumption that Jamie Hayter is able to return. No one.
I'm not getting my hopes up for that. Yeah.
Let's say Jamie Hayter works London, Chicago is Britt.
I could live with that. I think, I saw Britt come out, and I was thinking of all the people I know going to that show. I was like, oh, they're gonna be devastated. Oh, they're gonna be devastated, because
you can even get away with it by having Jamie Hayter challenge for New Japan Strong and having TBS challenger Britt Baker.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, no, I'm not excited for Britt Baker's return.
So here's my thing about Britt Baker. Like I said, I'm not as harsh as most people, including Scotty over here, on Britt Baker. I don't love Britt Baker. She's not the best wrestler in the world. She's certainly not. But I'm not calling for her head like most people. However, that being said, since she has been gone, I think it is
since you've been gone. Sorry.
Yeah, since Kelly Clarkson said those words, I think it's very obvious that the women's division has gone up several steps, right?
Oh, big time.
So then and we kind of started noticing that once Jamie Hayter left, and it was just Britt, left because of injury, and it was just Britt, and you saw her like match quality, I thought was like the worst it's been in the company, in my opinion. Where I was like, oh, this really isn't good. I see where all the haters, not Jamie haters, but all the Britt haters we're talking about here. We saw that quality sort of step up. Since then, it's stepped up even more. To the point where like some OG AEW women's people, I'm like, oh, these people aren't as good anymore as they once were. So my point here is that like, unless she's coming back and she's upped her game significantly, I can't see this next run for Britt Baker being that good, at like just aggressively not good, because she was falling off at the very tail end of being right before her injury, and she has to really get hopefully a lot better, in my opinion, because this women's division has got a whole heck of a lot better since she's been gone, as Kayla Clarkson said.
I've never seen a Britt Baker singles match without a stipulation that I've really, really liked. So
that's fair. She is like a weird death match queen. Like she is very good at hardcore style matches.
blood changes a lot.
That's true.
This actually ripped. So this is when I was really down on the show after she showed up, and then the Wrestle Dynasty thing made me like, oh, never mind. I wasn't like down on the actual show that I was watching, but that return was like, and now that we're bringing it back up, I'm kind of back there.
I get you. Well, let's move on. Let's talk
because
about.
I'm thinking about the All In card, and I don't know if I like it.
So All In is I'm just gonna say Britt Moné because we don't know.
Yeah, that's gonna be it.
If Jamie's back, then that'd be great, and I would prefer that obviously in London. Ospreay MJF.
Definitely, that's definitely happening. I got my eyes on that.
Swerve. I'm still 50-50 on a Swerve versus Bryan Danielson or a Swerve versus Adam Page, assuming Page the wild card.
Is it a hot take?
I'm kind of dubious now.
I agree. Is it a hot take for me to say that I much rather prefer Hangman Page
versus Danielson?
Over Danielson? Yeah, I think it's probably a hot take saying like that.
I wouldn't say a hot take because I think it's definitely very exciting and interesting. It is Danielson though, but it's also Adam Page would work spectacularly in that spot.
I just know their match would have to be something unbelievably epic. And I know that these two can hit that level.
Yeah. The thing is that if it's not Danielson in the world, I guess that's the question. If it's not Danielson in the world title match, what is he doing? You know, what is he doing on the show? He's got to do something.
Oh, obviously he's got to do something. I'm not saying he's doing nothing. God.
Bryan Danielson versus Michael Oku. I'm gonna win some title. I'm gonna win something. Sorry, Luke. Well, no. At this point, it could be Luke Jacobs.
I don't even hear something.
Okay, what about this, Scotty? What about this? Bryan Danielson versus Luke Jacobs.
That's not happening. That's not. I give that match a 0% chance of happening.
And I'm sort of in line right now of a 50-50. You know, Danielson at Wembley, Page at Chicago. But I also understand.
I think that's workable. Doesn't excite me as much, but it works.
Yeah. Do you think Page is going to be the wild card? We saw a vignette of his.
I have no clue.
We saw a vignette of his on Collision, and then the Young Bucks said that it's a new member of the Elite is going to be the wild card. And I'm like, is it the same person though? I don't know anymore. I don't know who else the wild card could be.
I've seen people pitch like Christian Cage because they owe him one or something. And I was like, I don't want that. That would be very lackluster for me.
And then the Patriarchy is a sub brand of
yeah.
It was Adam Cole. What if Adam Cole's healthy and
what if it was Adam Cole?
Yeah,
it doesn't move me. I'm riding with Hangman till the end because nothing moves me more. And listen, I'm trying to get moved by AEW right now.
Okay. What about Jay Lethal?
Oh Jesus! Because to think of how great heel Hangman versus this super babyface Jeff Jarrett's become in 2 weeks is gonna be. You understand how much that's driving me towards Wednesday? Don't ruin it for me.
That's fair.
He's got to be a killer.
Any other all-in matches that we can think of? Obviously, it felt like Adam Copeland versus the Young Bucks in some capacity. Maybe the Christian thing there.
Just a quick side point about Danielson. I won't get this, but oh my god, I'd love Mark Briscoe versus Bryan Danielson. For the ROH world title, trying to get one more world title, first whatever.
That could be Wembley. I'd be down if that was Wembley.
I was gonna say Zach, but Zach's coming off the G1. I don't know if that's all too smart.
Yeah.
Mariah
May versus Tony, obviously, for the Wembley.
Mariah versus Tony, absolutely.
Chris Jericho's got then Chris Jericho FTW title match versus Samoa Joe. Yeah, you got Joe. You got Joe. It's still gonna be something.
Well, Okada's gonna have a big match, I think.
Okada has to have a match too. Yeah.
We're gonna hope for Omega, right? Is that where we're at with this?
Yeah, that's my hope. That's my current hope.
Okay.
Jack Perry.
Omega. Jack Perry versus Hook in a pane of glass match. Sorry. No,
now we're talking.
That doesn't move you.
Now we're talking. Moxley. I don't know. Moxley maybe in some sort of BCC.
Well, we have to assume we're going to get Stadium Stampede again, yeah?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Who feels like the big time faction that could? I mean, is that maybe it's Okada, the Young Bucks, and all these people?
God, they do all three. They do the Blood and Guts, the Anarchy, and that. Oh, that'd be such a letdown.
That seems plausible.
Give me Juice Robinson versus. You can do the Bang Bang Gang versus like some group for Stadium Stampede.
I mean, my top trios team right now is Hook, Shibata, and Samoa Joe.
My top trios team is Mystico and the Lucha Bros, but okay.
Speaking of talking, let's talk about speaking of talking, any updates on the media scrum?
I've been talking to you.
All right. Well, then I'll do this. We'll do the 0 hour first. We'll do that as a lump sum here, but I'll go.
It was Monet first, if you're wondering.
We will sort of go lump sum here, not sort of match by match in depth. The 0 hour was, in fact, Kyle Fletcher defeating Serpentico in opening squash, 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Brody King and Malachi Black defeat Gabe Kidd, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Tomohiro Ishii, and Private Party in 8 minutes and 39 seconds in a 4-way. Gato out there with Gabe Kidd, which I thought was hilarious. Tag team match, Tam Nakano and Willow Nightingale defeat Chris Statlander and Momo Watanabe. In 10 minutes, 18 seconds, the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament quarterfinal match. Mariah May defeats Saraya. And then in your last match on the 0 hour,
my main event,
Mystico and the Lucha Brothers defeat Los Ingonables de Japón, Hiromu Takahashi, Titan, and a very, very disappointing outing in Yota Tsuji. I was extremely upset with how bad he did in this match.
I was so happy when he tagged out.
And the crowd was interested, and then he did absolutely nothing.
He did the little shove to Penta, and they were like,
"Oh,
that's it."
That's it. And then the crowd, and then he lost the crowd completely, and it took Mystico to bring it back because, of course,
he got outworked by a Penta who did Cerro Miedo 5 times. When Penta's in Cerro Miedo mode, he ain't out there to give full effort, and yet he got outworked.
Everyone else surrounding Yota Tsuji was great.
Oh yeah, I thought Zero
Phoenix, Mystico, even Hiromu was real fun. Pentagon, Yota Tsuji was just, I thought, an extreme. And I'm a card carrying member of the Mount.
You are a Gene Blaster.
I coined the term Gene Blaster on this show. I'm a Gene Blaster through and through. You should see my Wranglers. But I thought this performance was bad. I thought this is so bad. Everyone else outshined him significantly. Give me a Phoenix Teton match this Wednesday, this Saturday in Collision. Give it to me this week. Pump that into my veins.
We should talk about how, you had your guy And he got shined by my guy, Viva Mexico, baby. Buddy, when he started running those ropes, getting ready for La Mystica, I was on the edge of my seat, shirt ripped off, looking for the pieces because I was like, shit, I'm freezing. And bang, La Mystica tap out, buddy. This match was great.
Yep.
It's probably my top 3 match of the night. I'm tired of shit. What was I talking?
This match is really
I'm
good.
still thinking about the Wranglers. He said you want to see my Wranglers. Oh, they're probably dry tonight, buddy. Oh shit. Oh, okay, we're back. We're back. I don't know if anyone's even watching this live. I'm not gonna lie to you, but if you are, I'm so sorry. Mystico rules. Teton, probably the most underrated wrestler in professional wrestling right now.
Probably. He's up there.
When I am voting for the Observer Awards,
underpushed or whatever it is,
I would vote him as the underrated, which is usually underpushed type guy. Like, he is outstanding. Him and Phoenix was off the charts. Hiromu and Mystico did their damn thing, and the crowd was so into it. The crowd was more into this match than the next, 8.
Think
about that.
In terms of an overall match, not like, not, like I said with Yoda Tsuji, there were their lulls, but for the most part, the crowd was for it the entire time.
Oh, they were locked in that final couple minutes. I thought Mystico obviously did great. He wouldn't let me down. Some of our favorites don't let us down. La Mystica, baby. And yeah, like you said, give me Teton Phoenix yesterday. Thank you.
Any other thoughts on the other matches on the 0 hour?
I need Chris Statlander in Stardom tomorrow. I think she's great. I thought Tam and Momo did a really good job for those two. Because maybe this is a hot take. I don't think Will and Chris have the best chemistry against each other.
We'll find out on Wednesday.
You remember that 0 hour match from last year? It was rough. I thought this connected a lot better. Thought Tam did good. Thought Momo did good. Thought Willow did good. Thought Chris did good. I was like, you know what? Cool. Did his job. I thought the opening 4-way tag was a lot of fun too. The first match.
The first match, of course, was Kyle Fletcher defeats Serpentico. What are you talking about? That was
shit. That's right. I didn't see that. Okay, the second match of the night then I thought was good, and then Mariah May advanced with the roll up pin thing that I wish we established long ago.
Yeah, my thing about roll ups and schoolboys and whatever she did specifically that had a name, I don't know if it has a name because commentary has issues. The thing about roll-ups is that from a decade of WWE treating roll-ups like cheap finishes, everyone sort of reacts to a roll-up like that as a big shock victory and a big surprise. When a roll-up, just a clean old roll-up where you just grab underneath them, roll them over, and then pin them 1, 2, 3. I get it. A schoolboy, I get it as well. That's, I think, a little more technical. But whatever Mariah May did, which she sort of dropped Saraya and then caught her leg real quickly, I thought was way more technical than it deserved a shock.
It was really good.
It was really good. And to me, that's to me, when I see a move like that, that is like a Saber-esque, a technical move, a world sport move where it is you worked on this. This is not a cheap thing. You worked on this to achieve a solid pin that can catch your opponent and get the 1, 2, 3. This shouldn't be a shock. I can't believe I won.
Yeah.
Treated like a shock cheap finish. It should be treated like, holy crap, you got me. And they never are. They never are. For example, what was a good one? Good reaction to it all, even though it was a little bit cheapy, a little cheapy peepy. The Zack Sabre Jr. Hechicero match in CMLL. A really good roll up, granted a little cheapy peepee because Hechicero has foot on the ropes, but a really good roll up. And Zach did not react as like shocked and angry and all this sort of stuff, but more of like, God damn it, you got me.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Mariah in Stardom. It's a Stardom roll up. Every certain wrestlers think of one up. Mina did it in her match.
Yeah,
it's the Mina the collection where she pins them down, pins the arms and leg down. Obviously, Azumi does the Azumi Sushi, which is a classic for her. If you establish it as a move in your arsenal, I feel like we shouldn't be doing this big surprise thing. And I'd like Mariah to continue doing that. Make it something scary that's like, she did it again. I think it works. It's a good addition. It's why
Bryan Danielson, Master of the Schoolboy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good thing to add. So I hope that's what happens. I thought Mariah looked good in the match again. Mariah's great. Mariah versus Mercedes Moné is the biggest women's match long term. Like, I think by the time they're ready to run that, it's gonna feel huge.
I think that's probably correct. Yeah, I enjoyed the 4-way a good amount. I did have one thing about the finish. I believe I wrote it down. Well, the finish was a little flat. You had the Cassie roll up into the Gonzo bomb, and the crowd just kind of got like weirdly flat at that point. I don't really know. But I thought the finish, and I don't remember if this happened, and I don't necessarily want to go back to it, and I think the rivalry is probably over. But I wish the finish was someone pulling the leg of Mark Quinn as he goes for a 450 splash in a sort of callback to the Learning Tree segment with Chris Jericho. And that's what causes the loss. Because obviously I don't want to like necessarily go back, but that it does prove to this younger tag team that maybe Chris Jericho does know what he's talking about,
Yeah.
And I get that it's a heel gimmick, but you need some like we all know that Chris Jericho is a veteran and he probably has a lot of knowledge. But if that happened and if people could connect the dots there, then it would show us in the moment right here and now that, Chris Jericho was correct. And there's something to it. So that's a small little thing. It doesn't really matter. I think that only matters if they're going back to that feud. I don't think they are. But even if they didn't go back to that feud, if they just did that spot, then, there's some reflection and you can circle back and maybe join it and make a proper like 5-person faction at the Learning Tree. I don't know. Is that something I want? No. But, these are just things that like, that would have been a cool story consistency gimmick thing. You have all these writers and producers and story editors, so maybe that could have been a fun little spot. But a Gonzo bomb is always fun. I always enjoy a Gonzo bomb. Anyways,
good 0 hour.
A good 0 hour. Also, Gabe Kin versus Brody King is a match I would want, and also Tomohiro Ishii versus Malachi Black is another match I want. There's a moment where like Tomohiro Ishii lariat counters a spinning heel kick from Malachi Black during the match in a quick exchange, and I saw that moment, and I was like, "That's a singles match I want." Right in that moment. Anyways, good solid 0 hour. I think it certainly got some buys with that 0 hour.
Would you like to
Yes.
media scrum from
media scrum professor?
Whatever you call me.
Professor Scrums.
Professor Scrum. Mercedes was first. She was in full character. She was asked about Britt Baker. She called her a bitch.
Whoa. That's Okada's gimmick. You cannot.
I know. She asked Tony Khan if she's the biggest free agent ever to sign in AEW, and Tony Khan said, "Yep."
Eat your heart out, Okada and Will Ospreay. Jesus Christ.
Mercedes says she can go to Japan and Mexico, or they can come to her. She wants to face the best in the world. They asked her how she's feeling physically. She says it in the 4th match and has never felt better. She also talked about doing lucha, and that was it.
That is she's in character, so it could be
part of the Tony Stormism.
Yeah, but it's a Tony Stormism. But what I'm trying to say here is that it could be a character thing of not revealing the weakness, but revealing that she is healthy. I think there probably was some concern about hamstring injury during the Stephanie Vacker match. So I'm sure that alleviates a lot of people.
Then we had Zack Sabre Jr. up.
Ooh.
Someone asked if he has his sights on a title or opponent in AEW. He said Orange thought he disrespected, but no one respects OC more than him. He knew he's cool in the indies, losing his mind of him. That has nothing to do with what the question was. Awesome. Says
because he doesn't. He has interest because he's going to win the IWGP.
Wait, we get there.
Oh, well, okay.
So he said Orange wanted this match for a long time. This doesn't disregard how talented OC is at wrestling, and said anyone that does, and I quote, they're a fucking idiot. Ouch. That was at me. Continues saying he doesn't want to disregard AEW, but the G1 is in a few weeks, and his goal right now is to go to the top of New Japan and carry that company. This is all from Trevor Dame, by the way. So thank you for this. Asked about the challenge of working with someone like Orange. He said there was no challenge because he's unique. Asked about being the bannerman of British wrestling. Zach talks about training in the same school as Finn Balor and Becky Lynch, and says they were lucky to get the kind of teaching they did. All right, sure,
interesting.
Said AEW changed the industry because there was no American company that respected wrestling like this before. Says the Forbidden Door used to be forbidden, but now it's been degraded to slightly naughty. It's odd that CMLL, New Japan, AEW, Rev Pro are so intertwined. He wants to be involved with it as much as possible. He was asked about a third match with Danielson, where it will be. Zach says they were talking about the North. Zach says they were talking about the North Pole. Brian says there's a 2% this isn't a joke. He thinks Brian's probably maybe not joking.
Good. That'd be fun. I'm sure Santa could be the referee.
He believes that Zach believes the match should happen in England, and then gave the rematch, and gave a stare to Tony Khan because this is a good bit show coming up. And that was it. After that, then we had Tony Storm. She did her gimmick. Well,
real quickly about Zack Sabre Jr., I do like that he did not say I would like to go after any AEW title. I like that. I like that he said I would like to focus on the G1 climax and win that title and become the top guy. We have no idea what Zack Sabre Jr.'s contract deal is with New Japan, but I like his commitment to that company because I think a lot of New Japan people need to hear that.
I think he's more dedicated to it than maybe people are ready for, in terms of he wants to be that top guy once before he leaves.
Yeah.
Tony introduced Mina, praised her breasts, and gave her a Statue of Liberty hat.
All right, which Tony?
Tony Storm. Sorry, that would have been bad. That would have been bad. Said there's no time for questions, and then she left.
Great. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
I'm glad the media scrums are just character bios.
We do have Swerve out here.
All right.
We're
flying through these media scrums. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're making it pretty easy. Asked what he said to Ospreay, and this was 18 minutes ago, by the way. So yeah, we are. Asked what he said to Ospreay after the match. Where said he loved him, that he's the best in the world, and he can't wait to do it again with him someday. Oh, how emotional. He was asked if Danielson is still who he wants to face at Wembley.
No. No, I would have face Pac.
I would love to fight the guy that made my life a living hell in Hangman Page, actually. Swerve says he wants to get his win back against him so much. He's been studying how special he is for so long. Talks about their shared Washington history. Maybe they should just do that match at Wrestle Dream.
That makes sense. But hey, well, Brian would be retired at this point.
We don't know when Brian's retiring. That's the problem. I've decided it's probably end of the year.
They should just randomly do that on a Defy show. They should announce the card for Defy, have the main event, and then Swerve comes out, and then and no promo, and then Bryan Danielson comes out, and then a referee comes out, and then they have a match.
Swerve said he has a very small list of people he wants to work with, and Danielson is one of them. Renee Paquette, who obviously is kind of the host of these now, asked who else is on the list, and Swerve says, so Moxley. He said it with the idea of Moxley.
Their 3-year-old child.
Exactly. My computer just had like a freak out. So my bad. Continuing. He likes to get personal in feuds. So
Good.
That's cool.
Good.
Swerve
Personal heat draws.
Boy,
we'll find out how much it truly draws this pay-per-view, but
Swerve talked about MJF having gotten to the title once already. So what motivates him now? How has he changed? He talks about stories and personal feuds and blah 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 blah. Nothing that's interesting for this conversation yet. You and me are having. He talks about Jim Jones, the guy that, of course, was part of his entrance. Says more about music.
There really is nothing here on the bone here.
Swerve asked if his Ospreay match met expectations. He said many ways it exceeded it. The expectations for things are usually low.
I mean, I would say the match. The match. I guess we'll talk about it. The match exceeded.
Swerve says it's gratifying to have a Black World Champion main eventing these events, to have shows of this level and Black Man is main eventing it. He doesn't take that for granted. And then Swerve is done. That was quick. We are flying. And then it's Tony time, as in Tony Khan. So let's go through some more matches. Once he's done, we'll just get through that because they're flying. So he'll probably be done by 1:30.
Khan's Corner, is that something?
They're called. I believe Tony Storm called it the Solo Tone Zone.
You're stealing from Riccaboni. What the fuck? What are we doing here? How dare you? How dare you encroach on the Bone Zone?
Well, I'm just saying that's what she said. I don't know. Whatever. Leave me alone. Let's finish. I'll do. He's still going, so let's do card now.
Before we get to card, I do want to say at this point that we are going to record either at some point this week or next weekend a episode it's going to just be a Q&A, just questions and answers. And so I wanted to say here now that we are going to start collecting those questions for the Q&A tomorrow. This is going to be a Patreon episode, patreon.com/countoutpod. I think we'll actually make it on all of the tiers. So all you have to do is subscribe to the Patreon, either the $3 tier or the $5 tier, and you will be able to join and listen to the Patreon episode that we're going to do. That is our part of this new series that we're going to do. That's just quarterly Q&As. And so we're going to start collecting those questions tomorrow. You'll see tweets out on all of or messages out or posts out on all of our social medias, collecting those Qs for our A's. Hold on. And we would appreciate getting a lot of those questions. Those questions can be about anything. It could be about modern wrestling. Well, ideally modern wrestling. Obviously, ideally stuff that's kind of happening now, things that are happening moving forward. Questions about any company promotion in the globe. We would love questions about it. So if you have any questions, of course, respond to our posts that we make on social media, both on our Count Out Podcasting app and Scotty's Twitter and my Twitter. We'll collect any questions that we get there. But also, like I said from top of the show, if you want to leave a voicemail, we will definitely 100% play it on that show for that show. So you can give us a call, 2525 Ring PR. That's 2525-746477. Again, 2525-746477. That's a real phone number. If you call it, you can leave a voicemail, leave a message, and we will listen to it, listen to your question on the show, and we'll give you an answer. So again, it'll be on Patreon. $3 and $5 tier will be the actual episode. We'll start collecting those cues tomorrow on all of our social media platforms. along with those voicemails. I mean, I guess you could do it now, but at any point, and we'll record either some point later this week or next weekend at some time. We haven't figured that part out yet, Scotty, but we'll figure that out later. Anyways, let's get to the proper show. We started off with MJF defeating Hechicero in 9 minutes and 51 seconds. Of course, the hometown guy here, MJF, solid pop as he walked out. And then, this is kind of the match that had the weird sort of thing where people were into MJF, and then it felt kind of like this theme of, were people really into the outside talent of New Japan and CMLL? Because Zack Sabre Jr., Naito, Hechicero, all fighting at different points during the matches to get the crowd to give any sort of reaction to them. And it took a little bit for Hechicero to get there. It wasn't until he did sort of the strut, the MJF strut, into, of course, his magician hands into the double birds. So it took a little bit for him to get there. But what did you think about MJF versus Hechicero?
Pretty much a letdown, like I expected. I didn't expect this to be good, really.
Well, then it wasn't a letdown, was it?
No, you're right. It hit pretty much the level I was at. I was like, oh, some of this was good. Some of it was whatever. Most of it was whatever.
Solid 3? I feel like that's where I'm at.
I gave it 2 3/4 because I've watched Hechicero absolutely kill it this year. And it's like watching this, it's like, oh, brother. And I came to the conclusion on MJF once and for all. Ooh. I know who MJF is. I know who MJF clearly acts as, and I think it's time we all accept it. MJF is a meme wrestler disguised as a main eventer. And when I say that, is that he does these things in his matches that are so over the top, like his reactions to things and just the way he wrestles and the way he moves. It's very much that of a meme wrestler. It's like, when he's like acting like all these things and he's posing, and it's for me when I really
meme wrestling gimmick is not a guy that talks funny and has teeth, not a headbanger metal guy,
right?
Not a cat. His meme wrestler is I'm a main eventer of the WWF in the 80s.
Absolutely. Like he's making these faces, and when he does like, oh shit, like, when he yells things, it's like, that's what he is. He's disguised as a main eventer in this current day. And the finish really perfected it for me. Because I feel like meme wrestlers nowadays, they'll do all this gimmick, and then they'll hit the Canadian Destroyer, and then they'll win the match. That's how this goes. When Orange Cassidy was a meme wrestler, I feel like you kind of saw stuff like that from him. Obviously, he's changed a lot since then, and he's much more of a serious competitor now.
Sure.
But that's what I watch with this guy. He's going for that 80s, 90s over the top main eventer, and hey, he nails it, but I'm not interested in that.
Which, to be fair, he definitely did a lot of that during his heel stuff.
Yeah.
But there's something about it where, it's more out there as a babyface, more aggressive in a weird way as a babyface, and it doesn't work for either of us. I like that take a lot. I think it's not wrong. I don't think the take is incorrect at all. I think he's definitely, obviously, like MJ Hogan, obviously that everyone references. I think that's kind of it, is that he's doing a very obvious act that is played for a lot of it, played as a baby face because it's getting cheers, but it's more so that it's played for, like, a lot of times comedy, and more so than anything else, irony.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great.
Like when he puts a headlock on, you see it.
Yeah.
It's like when you would watch like Hogan do it, and it looks so fake,
But back then, wrestling was all gimmicks and all kayfabe, and the 80s and all these things worked. Now that he's literally replicating it, so much so that the commentary team is pointing out how he basically just did a bunch of top stars finishers in a 4-second span, it becomes irony, comedy, grating, takes you out.
It's
And if anything, it's supposed to tap a nostalgia button that I don't think you and I have.
I don't think, no, not at all.
I don't think many people, including other people that left AEW during his title run last year.
True that. Yeah, that's just who he is now. And I used to like some MJF matches, but and you know what's the worst part for me? He mixes that 80s, 90s WWF main eventer with like trying to be a present day wrestler with like the moves he does. So the Canadian Destroyer. I just think of that Jay White match. Like that, everything about that was that plus the let's do this big move and let's do this big move, right? He's working this injury and then he does a top, like a over the top rope cutter,
yeah.
And it's like, all right, man. So that's kind of how I feel about him, and I think that's how I'm going to feel about him. And I think him and Ospreay is going to be an experience that I do not enjoy.
It could bring out the worst of MJF. It is
the Adam Cole MJF match from last year, I think, for reaction purposes. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to despise it.
I don't know. I think you have Ospreay in there who
I don't believe in MJ. I have less hope in MJF than I do more hope in Ospreay right now. Okay. If that makes sense. That's not a shot at Ospreay. That's not a shot at him. That is how little hope I have in the big MJF match. But I'm scared how he's going to work the crowd, truthfully. He's going to embrace heel, though, so maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, we're starting to train down maybe a heel MJF, so I think
which is better, by the way.
It's definitely
know that. That is better. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope the match is great, but this was not.
One other thing I want to say about this match, I thought Hechicero was good, just not over. But the sort of theme of the night is the commentary team has a lack of research that annoys me.
Yeah, so you pointed out the research. Well, yeah, you did actually.
There are 3 moments throughout this card that I realized were all lack of research. Can I give you the 3?
Yep.
Number 1, this match, not acknowledging the pile driver given to Hechicero. Hechicero works in CMLL, where pile drivers are illegal. Can we talk about that on commentary? Mention about how it's illegal. Mention how his head or his neck isn't as supported because he doesn't take these moves all the time. Talk about how these things are illegal and down in Mexico. Mention it at least once. Number 2 was in the very obviously, and it became embarrassing if you're watching it on Twitter, the IWGP World Heavyweight title match, where commentary states that Jon Moxley can retain the title in a DQ or countout. That's not true. As you see on tweets, that then Chris Charlton has to tweet at Excalibur during the show, which then Excalibur checks his phone during the show to figure out, oh no, I'm incorrect. It's actually that Moxley can lose the title on disqualifications and on countouts. So again, not doing a research. And number 3 is Taz in the main event. I have issues with Taz. In the main event, Swerve goes for his short arm scissor, right? And Taz calls it as a Jujikatami or whatever, basically a cross arm breaker. And then Excalibur's like, no, I think that's a short arm scissors. And Taz is like, oh no, you're right. Yeah, that is it. Taz, that short arm scissor is a move that Swerve has been attempting to get over for the past little while and has used as a finish on several matches in an attempt to get over. Now, granted, the move is not completely over as a finish, but he has used it as a finish in the past. He used it for, I believe it was the build to Dynasty versus Samoa Joe, was using the short arm scissor. So he has it in his arsenal. That move is something in his arsenal. I get it. These two transitions to the move are a thing, but this guy has a short arm scissor part of his arsenal. Know the person, know your world title holders finishing and signature moves. Know his move set. You don't know the world title's move set. You don't know what happens in Mexico, and you don't know the rules of the specialty matches in your freaking promotion right now.
Yeah. Okay, so you made me pay attention to commentary, which I don't do, but you brought it up, so it got stuck in my head. I was like, I'll pay attention. I thought commentary was bad all around.
Okay, yeah. So that brings me.
Nigel became insufferable to me.
Yes.
Because he started making and listen, I never have problems with the jokes. I said this to you. You have a problem with the Taz comments, and I get that. Like, I get some people can do that. But all I noticed was jokes all around. Like, I was like, when you made me focus, I was like, this is
okay, yes. I have been sitting on this take for a while, and I finally reached my boiling point of giving it out. I severely don't like Taz on commentary. I think I am on an island probably with that, but I
like Taz, but tonight was bad all around.
I am not afraid of saying anymore. I don't enjoy Taz on commentary. He constantly jabs, jokes, and distracts from the wrestling match that's happening in front of me. He is calling things improperly, and because of all the jokes and jabs he's doing, it then distracts Excalibur from doing his job, because that guy loves to get a hand on the ball and loves to add to some sort of bit and comment on some sort of bit. So he is no longer calling the match, instead reacting to whatever Taz says. I don't give a shit about Taz copyrights on his colors orange and his trademarks. I don't care about that at all. Yet all I'm hearing all freaking show, all of Dynamite, is issues he has with Shivani, issues he has with Orange and Zack Sabre Jr. for the color orange, issues with
the orange ones always pop me. I can't lie.
Sure. Some of these things are funny. I get it. But issues with all these sort of different aspects, and it's just insufferable at a certain point. And the reason I don't, Nigel is similar in a different way, but a very similar guy in the sense that he's the heel and he's making a lot of jokes and making a lot of sexual innuendos and all these sort of things. And he's doing a similar thing, but just in a different way. I think what's different for me is that Nigel does bring it back to the wrestling every once in a while. And I don't think he distracts Excalibur as much as Taz does, because I think Taz and Excalibur have
he doesn't call with Excalibur.
Yeah, because he rarely does.
He calls it Tony.
Right? He calls it Tony. Excalibur mainly interacts with Taz on that front. They were nice when their interactions were nice and fun when it was on Dark and Dark Elevation, but on Dynamite, it frustrates me severely. And I don't enjoy Taz on commentary. It worsens Excalibur's commentary. And I just don't. I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear it anymore. It's so grating. I would rather have, and I know this will upset people, I would much rather have Jim Ross on the call than Taz. I rather take Jim Ross. Jim Ross can be sleepy, but he can also be fantastic in the main event, right? Taz just is going to distract. Nigel, as Jeff Bugenhagen writes in the chat, and I'm glad Jeff also agrees with me on my Taz points here, Nigel's Attitude Era Jerry Lawler. That's fair, just except British. I would love Ian Riccaboni. I think he's also well researched. I think Matt Menard is fun and entertaining, and he's a really good, like, in terms of the worlds of heat commentary. Matt Menard is a really fun babyface color commentary, and really has a lot of good energy when it comes to that. And of course, I would throw in like a Tony Schiavone to get more of that historical perspective. But when you really pay attention to Taz, it gets really annoying really quick, in my opinion. And like you said to me earlier, is that typically you tune out commentary. And to me, that is a huge point of the commentary being bad if you naturally are tuning it out, To me, it's like that shouldn't be good. Like, do you tune out? I mean, you typically watch it in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. But if you were watching like a Kevin Kelly call New Japan back in the day, or even like Walker Stewart now, or Chris Charlton, do you typically feel like you're tuning them out, or do you pay attention because they're telling the story, telling you the facts and figures, the possibilities of how this match could end? What do you typically do, Scotty?
Well, as I said, I tune out most commentary.
Plus, I know you enjoy listening to it typically in like the native tongues, if you will.
Native tongues or none at all.
Mhm.
None of all is my actual favorite. I watch a lot of wrestling with no commentary. Like every Japanese show that isn't a major pay-per-view usually has none.
Yeah.
Unless it's New Japan. So I've grown accustomed to that. It's very peaceful. It's lovely. Because all you're doing is listening to the crowd and the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the best form for me. But it depends on the match.
Mhm.
I will listen to Chris Charlton go through history.
Mhm.
Depending on the match.
When Chris Charlton does those little like written monologues at the beginning of world title matches, it's always like perfect. This is exactly what I want.
Yeah, I'll do that. But yeah, I learned to tune out commentary a long time ago, and you made me listen to tonight. And I will never, ever, ever forgive you for that. Because
Once you hear it, it's hard to
because you said you have a problem with Taz. I'm listening to Nigel and Taz and Excalibur not talk about the match. I'm like, I'm gonna lose my mind now. Because usually I don't care. I didn't care about it in the main event. I forgot it in the main event.
I think they laid off completely. I think with Jim Ross, four-man booth, they laid off. Taz laid off as well.
Yeah. I think for me, you can't have Nigel and Taz. No matter how you feel about either one of them, you can't have both of them in the same booth.
Fully agree. They're doing the same thing. They're making jokes the entire time.
Making jokes of they're supposed to be kind of the heelish personality, not necessarily the heel. Nigel's the heel one, but it's the personality. It's it's a little more aggressive talk and things like that. They're the former wrestler, so you deal with that, right? But them together, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I'm not even that big of a fan of Excalibur. I've said that to you before. So that doesn't help. My favorite team that I do listen to is a team I never get to hear, and that's Riccaboni and Caprice.
Me too. I love me Riccaboni and Caprice.
I think that's the best team by far, and I don't think it's very close. I think Walker and Chris Charlton do a good job with the times I do listen to them. And that's not a shot at them. I like
but their experienced tandem and Walker is still new in comparison.
Yeah, but at least they're talking about the match, so I appreciate that. But I don't think there's anything better than Riccaboni and Caprice. And I watch these shows and I'm like, why do they have to be Ring of Honor only?
Because what's also great about Riccaboni and Caprice and what's missing in the current AEW commentary team, what is prevalent throughout the rest of the product in AEW right now, is the AEW commentary team has too much comedy and irony. And one of the reasons I think I like Ian Riccaboni and Caprice, one of the reasons I like Walker Stewart and Chris Charlton, is that there is a level of sincerity. And that it feels like they're calling actual real fights, and it feels like they elevate this stuff to making sure it matters. Now they can throw in jokes and have fun at the commentary booth, and that's fun as well. But they make me feel like what I'm watching matters. Whereas the entire time, Taz is making jokes about being the human duplex machine. I'm like, call the match.
It makes me laugh. Yeah, I get it. I get anyone's frustrations. Taz makes me laugh. So, and again, I don't pay attention to commentary.
I'm not saying Taz doesn't make me laugh sometimes.
Taz gets me good sometimes. That's why I like Taz. But I understand if you're just trying to watch a match, it can be distracting. But he gets me. But no, I get it. Commentary is like a thing that I don't focus on as much because I don't care for it.
Sure.
As much as other people. Most people, I'd probably say, care about the commentary because most people watch American wrestling. But when you grow up watching WWE, you kind of start to learn how to cross it out a bit.
A
And
good
I learned
example
that,
of bad commentary.
yeah, there was a good like decade there where it was really rough, no matter what show you watched. Um, but you know, good commentary can raise the matchup too.
Yep.
And I don't count on AEW to do that anyway. So
If
I,
you
I
have if you have good commentary and a bad crowd, then at least you know
yeah,
you can't really blame the wrestlers. If you have bad commentary and a good crowd, hey, WWE's hot. If you got bad crowds, bad commentary, then it's just the whole thing drags the wrestling down.
I just think of Riccaboni and Caprice calling it Athena versus Willow. It's one of the best called matches of the past couple of years because they were so invested and they cared so much. I really think of back to
The
that,
FTR Briscoe trilogy.
of course, like so much care. I just think back to like even the Ring of Honor show from earlier this year. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me.
Supercard.
Supercard.
Mhm.
Like, you know, one match had a Mexican wrestler, and then the next match had the Stardom wrestlers, and they know all these things, and it's like, wow, they showed up prepared. These are the people I want calling these things, and I'm watching this show. I'm like, they should be here because I know would know everything.
Yeah. They feel incredibly well researched, whereas this commentary team has moments where it's like you guys don't know what you're talking about, and it's frustrating. Anyways, enough of that diatribe. 6-man tag team match here: the Elite, Kazuchika Okada, and the Young Bucks defeat Hiroshi Tanahashi and the Acclaim. 13 minutes and 1 second.
The Elite got to change it up, man. Done. I really am. I am done with the comedic Elite. The comedic heel boss is Elite. I liked it for like a month.
Yeah,
Now it's wearing on me. Really is.
subtlety hammer. They're doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I sent you 2 emojis and the word bitch, and I said, this is Okada's gimmick now.
Yeah.
And when Okada wrestles, shockingly, when the few moments he wrestled in this match, and I was like, oh, that's why I like Okada. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it gets over. I understand people like it. I watch Okada, you know, and he's having fun. I get it. But at the end of the day, when I'm an Okada fan, I want to see Okada in the big matches, you know? I want to see Okada in the big match mode. And that's my one thing.
Yeah.
I just want it to be changed up soon. And maybe Blood and Guts is how we get there. You know, Blood and Guts is a serious match. You gotta pivot. You gotta figure that out, and that's what we're gonna start building to now. So, I would like to see a little more heat from them, a little more seriousness. This match was fine. If you didn't watch it, you missed nothing.
Yeah. The
And
problem with them is that whereas they have some comedy, they're chock full of the irony.
and also Billy Gunn being the savior stinks. Get him out of get him out of this company.
So I'm fantastic if they ask this to Tony Khan and the media scrum, but after the match, they really either played up something or whatever that Tanahashi seemingly had some sort of injury, because there was also a really awkward period with Daddy Ass that it felt like they should have done something at the end to do like a little closing bit, and then it never happened because Tana wasn't getting up. So I don't know exactly what happened there. Maybe Tanahashi has suffered an injury and he's gonna have to give up his match to Oleg Boltin. Ah, darn. Darn, Oleg Boltin in the G1. Darn. But you know, hopefully he's fine. Hopefully it was either he forgot or there wasn't a segment at all and he was just playing out, he was just selling the Rainmaker.
Yeah.
It's totally plausible as well.
I'm gonna go through Tony real quick because he's done.
Sure. Real quickly before because we're gonna after you say that we'll move on to the third match. 6-man tag team match, third lowest rated match on a cage match so far at a 5.76.
Yeah, that checks out. It wasn't good.
MJF Hechicero, second lowest match on cage match so far. Anyways,
Yeah.
let's talk about Tony Khan.
Let's talk about Tony Khan. Okay, here we go. Tony Khan. Tony Khan.
Are you skipping ahead, or is just a lot of clicking? You don't have it pulled up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to update it. Sorry.
Okay.
The full thread was not popping up. Okay, Tony Khan. He said over 11,000 fans tonight and over $1 million live gate. Great.
Okay, so they were able to cross. They were able to get 1,000 more tickets sold. I presume. Maybe we'll find out.
Confirms
1,006 hours. That's pretty good.
He confirms that Dynamite will still take place the week of Wrestle Dynasty. Not that I thought it wouldn't, but okay. They will also support the big show. Thanks, Tony. I saw your logo on the thing. I didn't think you were just gonna be like, all right, have fun.
Sorry, real quickly. My bigger question is Collision live that the Saturday before, or will it be taped?
I'm sure it'll be taped.
I'm sure it's taped as well, but that'd be my question.
Actually, wouldn't they need a new TV deal by then? Collision might not even exist, buddy.
Interesting. Interesting point as well.
He hyped at Lance Jr. as the new Ring of Honor TV champion. Yeah. That's the feeling. He promoted Brody Lee's shoes. He was asked about moving All In to another venue in the future. People listening to Ring Post Radio. Thank you. He, of course, answered it. He said last year they set the world record for ticket sales in Wembley. All right. He's focused on this year's Wembley, All In. He thinks it's a huge event anywhere in the world, but he thinks Wembley is the best venue in sports. Yeah, he thinks it was bold play for them to return to Wembley this year. Thinks they've had great early sales, and with announcing early,
say bold is your second time.
are on the same pace of sales as last year.
No. Okay, hold on. Same pace, but less bold.
Yeah, money amount probably. Thinks like last year as they announce matches, more tickets will move. Yeah, that's usually how wrestling works. That is how wrestling works. Good job, Tony. Asked about Brody King's condition after the Ishii brainbuster where he landed directly on top of his head.
Oh, yeah.
Wrestling. He's okay.
Yeah, he finished the rest of the match.
Tony asked about what he's learned doing so many cross-promotion shows. What Tony has learned is that AEW wins no matter what. Just kidding. Has learned is if you ask a question like that, you have an opportunity to reel off a rapid-fire list of recent successful business milestones. And then he just kept talking about every crossover event they've had and every crossover match they've had this year. Okay.
Shout out to Stingay.
Would he like to run Puerto Rico? He thinks it would be great to run Puerto Rico.
Stop asking him these fucking dumb questions.
Hey, it's a historical market. Whatever.
Yes. But
he asked about the super heavyweight meat division and if fans should chant meat at Wembley.
No, they shouldn't. I don't want them to chant at all.
I think we can chant meat anytime. And they've had lots of meat moments and great meat chants and all of this. I swear he actually said for Trevor Dean.
I fucking hate these. Can we get CM Punk back, please?
Tony, oh my god. Okay, sorry.
The worst media scrum in the history of media scrums.
Tony asked about potentially having a streaming component along with a TV component as next deal.
Okay, great. I guess Brandon Thurston was in attendance.
Tony is, as always, pumped to be working with WBT.
Well, if anything like that,
at least you asked
something. You asked. It kind of got brought up a little bit on the Observer Radio as well. You know, it's something he can't. He's obviously not going to say. You got to ask. But did he mention that they're at in the red zone? No, I'm sure he did.
No. Tony asked about pay-per-view numbers for Forbidden Door. Tony says he's only projecting off digital buys. They don't have the cable ones for a while, but he says based on the digital buys they did, and I quote, excellent tonight. Tony thinks this will be their record year for total yearly pay-per-view buys. with them expanding their pay-per-view calendar. Thanks, bud.
So that is kind of something, because typically when it's good and Tony likes it, he says the number, right? In the past, if it's been a good number, he touts the number. If he's not touting the number, then to me, that is a sign that it was lower than they expected.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that would mean, what that looks like. Let me see if I can get the previous Forbidden Door and pay-per-view buys and all. We'll see. But continue.
That's it.
All right. That was a real easy continue. Let's see. AEW. I want the AEW. I know that's in WrestleNomics somewhere. But where can it be? I don't see it anywhere. Let's see. WrestleNomics. This is the best part of the podcast where I search pay-per-view buys. Okay, let's see. AW pay-per-view buys. All right, here we go. We're moving, we're grooving. All right, so Forbidden Door. Oh, great. This is only updated a while ago. So at Forbidden Door, the first time around, it had 140,000 pay-per-view buys. That was 2022, so that's not really helpful. After all of that, that wasn't that helpful. I'll see if I can continue fighting Forbidden Door 2023 and see if I can get anything, but that was not fruitful. Anyways, let's move on. That's all, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Third match, Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament quarterfinal match. Bryan Danielson defeats Shingo Takagi, 20 minutes and 19 seconds. What did you think of this match, Scotty? Did you love it? Were you back? Were you in? What did you think of this?
Very good. Very good match, but underwhelming. I have high expectations for these two.
I think
very high.
I think that is completely fair for you to have high expectations here.
Mix what I think is underperforming match with a bad crowd, and you still get a very good match. But I expect these two, and how good they are, I think they have the capability to deliver a match of the year type. And I don't think this came anywhere close to that. I don't know if this is you. I don't love the selling of the neck as much. Like,
really, the Bryan Danielson neck selling
stuff?
So
I like the story of it, but the initial one took me out of it for a little bit. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to get back into it. And I got there. But for me, it did take away a little bit because this crowd sucked. So you couldn't like that the suicide dive into the spinning neck breaker that pretty much was a brain buster was an awesome spot. But with this crowd, that waiting after really hurt them, and they really took a while to pick back up. They got the crowd back into it by the end, and it was a really good match. But I understood what they were going for, but with a crowd like this, I feel like you've got to pivot almost in a way where you got to go a little bit quicker. When you do, Danielson does the doctor ref moment a lot these days where, we act like he's not okay.
Yeah.
And, still a very good match, but definitely never came close to what I wanted it to. And I think that's my main problem. I just expect greatness from Danielson at this point, and Shingo in many ways as well.
I think it's fair. I think, again, not to harsh on the crowd, but I think there's an element of the crowd not being fully in Shingo and all that stuff. I agree with what you're saying, is that, like, going for the neck stuff is an important part of the story, and it also helped Ospreay a little bit as well, as a reminder of why his neck is injured. But like what it does is it slowed down the match to a really solid degree, and
Mhm.
made it more like a calculated heavyweight style match, which is not necessarily bad, but not necessarily what I was expecting from these two.
Right.
These guys aren't any spring chickens by any means, but you're expecting maybe a little something extra,
Yeah.
a little more speed, and it never quite got there for me.
Yeah, I've seen Shingo be fantastic this year. I've seen Danielson obviously have match of the year contenders this year. So to me, they have much better in them. If they ever were to run it back, I don't think they will. And I think that's what hurt most for me. But it is what it is. It's a very good match. They're very good wrestlers. It's an unfortunate thing where you expect so much more from them.
Yeah,
It's not. It's just like unfair in a way.
yeah.
And no crowd. That doesn't help either.
So the first Forbidden Door show drew 127,000 buys roughly. The second one, which was announced during the media scrum last year, was around 140,000 buys. Not the final figure. I can't find the final figure anywhere. But 140,000 buys, probably above that, honestly. That's the highest number I can find, the only number I can find for Forbidden Door 2023, which Tony Khan said will be above that number. And then you just said that Tony Khan didn't reveal the buys and how many there were at all, or didn't even give any conjecture about what it could be. And to me, if he's not touting that they're above 140,000, which was last year's, then I think they're below 140,000. Did he give a ticket gate number? Did he say how much money they made in the gate?
Over $1 million.
Okay. Last year was 1.2 million at roughly 14,000 fans. I think it was like 13.5, 13.6 or something like that. This year, 11,000 and over $1 million, but not more than last year at 1.2. So maybe 1.1, something like that. I would maybe tout another million gate, something you tout, but not more. But you're not touting, bigger numbers than last year. Attendance was obviously down, so
company ain't hot, bud.
Things you got to consider. All right, AEW Women's World Title match. We've been here a while. AEW Women's World Title match. Toni Storm defeats Mina Shirakawa. I will say here, so the match did not have Mariah May involved at all. I mean, Luther obviously also wasn't involved. She wasn't involved in the match.
She was pretty.
She wasn't involved
That's
in
what
the
she did.
match, in the outcome, in any aspect of the match. So in that sense, better than the typical WWE fashion of they're somehow play into the finish or somehow a distraction or something like that. Instead, you still got a lot of the WWE stuff of the pretty woman looking distraught in the corner by everyone wrestling. You still got a lot of that, but at least you didn't play into the finish. So I'll take what I can get. The match itself, I thought was really well worked. I thought Mina Shirakawa had a great showing. I thought Tony had a really solid showing as well. And yeah, I very simply, I thought they both did really well.
Yeah, I don't have a high bar for this, but probably my favorite Tony defense.
Ooh,
I mean, it was rough for a long time. So I thought Mina really brought it. I think this was a Mina Shirakawa big match form. And I think Tony did well enough, kind of taking a lot of it. I think it would have been even better if the finish didn't, for me, just kind of happened. I felt it just happened. Like Storm Zero, it's over. I was like, oh, all right, cool.
There was something before the Storm Zero where something happened and just didn't quite work or something, and then it became a Storm Zero.
Yeah, like I thought one kick out of that worked to something, and then another Storm Zero would have really helped this and brought it high.
Yep.
It was a good match, and I'll take that. It hit my expectations still. I think it could have been even better, though, with a better finish.
I agree.
So shout out to both of them. And then they kissed.
Yes, a triple kiss, three-way kiss. We'll never know, but
they're now forming the band Kiss 2. Sorry, Kiss 3.
What happened to Kiss 2? Plus accent.
They've come back a lot of times.
Mhm.
Oh my god! I was listening to The Observer with Tony. I didn't finish it, but when Tony goes, if I get hit by a bus, and Dave just goes like Darby, I lost it. Between that and the thing you told me about the Mystico Lucha Bros teaming up, and he's like, it's not the first time. Absolutely ended me. I was like, this guy, man.
At the very end, Dave asked him about Ultimo Guerrero, and you're gonna die. I know you are.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
It's a great spot.
Dave's so funny. He's so fun.
I agree.
Darby, he laughed. I was like, Darby got hit by an actual bus.
It's funny because he's fine. It's funny because he's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have any grand thoughts about this. I just thought it was,
they did everything they were supposed to.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing.
Crowd was into it. That's what mattered.
The crowd was into it. This was the first match I felt like the crowd was fully into, which credit to both of them. And Mariah, obviously.
Singles match, Zack Sabre Jr. defeats Orange Cassidy in 16 minutes and 22 seconds. The Zack Sabre Jr. winning the G1 and defeating Naito for the title. Train has officially left the station. We talked about this in the preview. If Zack is winning the G1, he cannot lose this match. Well, Zack Sabre Jr. won this match, defeated Orange Cassidy, stretched him out into prime orange juice, and he's heading into the G1 with a great victory under his belt. I feel super, super confident that this could be his year.
I thought the finish was very like, oh, Zack's that guy. Like, he got up and was like, all right. I was like, all right, I like that finish. I saw some people really, really love this match. That was good. I didn't really, really love it, but I thought it was a good match. But the problem is, as Zack once said, having a technical wrestling match in front of American fans is like playing Beethoven in front of them or something.
Something about dogs. It's something about dogs.
Something about dogs. Or playing Beethoven to dogs or something. Like, they won't get it. I felt that for a lot of this match, which again takes you out of it. Like, the match prior to this benefited because the crowd was into it. This match was hurt because the crowd was not. But there was good work in this match. Zack did a good job. Cassidy did a good job. I think Zack needs to win the G1.
I fully agree. Fully agree.
Be a real letdown if he doesn't.
I know. And he's going to lose to Evil.
Well, that's hold on. Now we might be talking.
Hold on. Well, he can't lose to Evil. Well, I guess he could, but they're not in the
finals. He can lose to Evil in the block. They are in the same block.
Could they lose in the finals? No, right? No.
Yeah, I don't know how that tournament goes.
I don't know the last part of it. Yeah, Cage Match right now has it kind of fighting to be the third highest rated match. Right now it's 8.21.
Wow.
It's basically a 4, 4.25 maybe.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm going 4 here. Maybe a 3. I'm thinking 3 3/4. The first half where the crowd's just not into it. Like, it was good action, but just
I had 3.5.
I think it's fine.
I like technical wrestling, but here's again problem. I watched Zack Sabre Jr. and Hechicero.
A hot crowd.
I can't watch that, then watch this. It's like the same thing with Hechicero and MJF. It's like, I'm watching these guys absolutely destroy it, and then it's like, oh, let's do this. But all right, next match because it's late.
6-man tag team match. Hook, Katsuyori Shibata, Samoa Joe defeat the Learning Tree, Big Bill, Chris Jericho, and Jeff Cobb. I thought Jeff Cobb was really good in this match, and you have no idea, audience, Scotty knows this, how upset I was the moment Big Bill walked out, and he's no longer wearing those jean-blasted Wranglers I got him for Christmas and those Timbs. He is back to his big cast tights, and I am I am traumatized is what I am.
Devastated.
Brought
down the match for me right off the rip. Couldn't think of anything else. I didn't really like this match to begin with. Shocker, I know. I like the Joe Cobb stuff.
Yep.
Which was not long. It was very short.
That easily should have been the New Japan World TV title match.
Yeah, between getting
The crowd was super into their interactions.
Yeah, but between getting Big Cass back, which I didn't ask for, and sorry, between getting Big Cass back and Hook hitting a brutally bad Judas effect, I was like, all right, this stinks. By the way, just want to point out, I don't like Jericho's Judas effect either, but like this one was so hilarious. Like,
it was awkward.
It was really awkward.
Jericho is a good worker where he's figured it out, trained it, and has smooth edges to find out.
Yeah. This match was not great.
No, it wasn't great. I didn't like it. Third lowest match right now in Cage Match. Jeff Cobb, like I said, Jeff Cobb was really good. There's parts of it that I enjoyed. A lot of parts of it I didn't quite enjoy. And I'm not a big old Chris Jericho hater like you are, Scotty. I don't love him, but
he doesn't have the worst pay-per-view. Worst match on this show for me for once.
That is true. That is fair.
He was pretty damn close though.
Like I said, he's third lowest right now. So it's not
past
great.
Few have been rough. This one was a little bit better. Not because of him.
Yeah, it's not like he did a lot of overly like dumb shit. He did a solid wrestling stuff.
He grabbed the mic though before the match, and I wanted to slam things.
I thought that was fun. But like he didn't do a lot of like the gimmick. What's nice about the gimmick, it doesn't affect his wrestling right now, unlike other members of the roster. So I'm going to accept it when it happens. AEW TNT title match, which is also a ladder match. Jack Perry, the scapegoat, ends up winning the TNT title. He was going to be given to it, and then he got into this qualifying stuff, beat Dustin, and won the title anyways in the ladder match.
No help. I did not get my House of Torture help. Devastated.
Me too.
I thought this match was great. I had a great time.
Yeah, I thought it was real fun. I was fascinated by the two different types of ladders.
Yeah. So the smaller ones were used to kill Leo Rush, and the other ones were used to walk on and stuff.
Yeah. There are the weapon ladders and the usable climbing ladders.
The weapon ladders are terrifying because they're real ladders, so they're like bending nasty, but they were literally just there for Leo Rush. Mark Briscoe's a maniac. I love this man.
Mark Briscoe was the best guy in this match. Which is not
a dive, man. No, he's incredible. I'm watching him and I'm like, you got to push him. He's so over. I understand he's Ring of Honor World Champion. That doesn't matter. Okay? Doesn't matter. You got to push him in AEW World. I understand on the marquee of Wrestle Dynasty, Ring of Honor's on there, but it's not, okay? I want him. I'm watching.
Ring of Honor is involved in this one when the Ring of Honor World Champions in the TNT ladder match.
Exactly. Between him being a star in this match and freaking Konosuke Takeshita getting the big babyface reactions, I was like, oh, I missed this. I was so sad because like everyone was so into him winning. And I was like, remember over a year ago when he was a super baby face and the crowd loved him, and then they turned him heel to face Kenny, and then he beat Kenny, and then they did nothing with him?
Yeah.
It's time to just turn him back babyface. I don't even care. People love this guy.
Is there something to the crowd either not reacting or reacting incorrectly to what AEW is doing? You know, I think back to like the WWE crowds of rejecting what was happening in front of them.
It could be. It has to last more than a show, though.
That's fair. That is fair.
This is the first time I've heard Takeshita cheered in a long time, but it got me emotional. Takeshita had a good showing. Shout out to the scapegoat. Obviously, all hail the scapegoat. Takeshita needs to win a belt in this company sooner than later. El Phantasmo, he said he'd do something stupid. I didn't know he was going to get freaking Blue Thunder bombed through 2 tables. Stupid, but
yeah, I messaged you right before that spot, and I was like, oh yeah, don't forget that Takeshita and El Phantasmo are in the same block, so we're going to see them interact If you enjoyed their interactions, you're gonna see it again. And then the Blue Thunder Bomb, dude, exploding table basically happened, and I was like, well, they're not gonna do that. That's not the G1. I
Pretty
would love
awesome
if
if
they
they
did.
did.
If I am to catch an ELP and I'm in the G1, I'm teasing that spot. You don't do
with
it
the
obviously.
Japanese tables because they'll die.
Yes, I would tease that spot.
I agree.
100% do that.
I agree. That was really good. Leo Rush was really good in this match, even if he was there to get thrown. Like, I love Leo Rush, man. He's so good. He's so good. I was so happy to see him in this. Dante Martin, stop giving me heart attacks.
Dante Martin was fine, but he was there to almost like play up the injury.
Yeah, and I was like, this is kind of screwed up, man.
Yeah.
It was really good though. Best ladder match I've seen best multi-man nonsense ladder match I've seen in a long while. I can't wait to watch 2 more on Saturday.
So many similar spots, too.
The problem is, like, I don't blame WWE on that one. That's their thing. They do Money in the Bank every year. AEW could have done anything, but they killed it, so it's fine. And they were first.
You want to know why the ladder gimmick is dead as a match stipulation?
Because of Money in the Bank?
Partly, but also because to make to make a ladder match exciting now, you have to include a table.
Yeah, it's TLC at all times.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about when I was watching this? You ever watched the old Money in the Bank ladder matches with like the originals, like the first few?
Not like recently, but I have.
But you've watched them. I'm just sitting there thinking, I was like, man, Shelton Benjamin was one of the best ladder match people of all time. Yeah. And I was like, no one comes close to doing that shit. This guy ran up a ladder and jumped off of it that was set up on the ropes. No one's doing that now.
What if instead of ELP or Leo Rush, it was Shelton Benjamin? I mean, he's way older, obviously, now, but what you referenced was a decade ago, 2 decades ago.
2 decades ago, next year, actually. I don't know. I love Shelty B. But I was just thinking, it's like no one's ever matched that. Like, you would think the younger, overall wrestling is more athletic now than it was 20 years ago. Yeah. You would think someone would figure that out, but no, Shelton Benjamin was him,
Yeah, you want somebody match his freak. We all know what's happening here.
Exactly. No one's Shelty. No one could be like Shelton. Shelton's a one of a kind type guy, in terms of what he was able to do. Shout out to Shelton Benjamin. If you're out there, hope you're doing well, my friend.
And you better be out there.
You better be listening, buddy.
Very good.
Stopping me. Nah.
Very good. If there's any sort of detractions from this, I think it's just simply like the concept of what ladder matches are at this point in 2024. But otherwise, a very strong match. AEW TBS title, New Japan Strong Women's title match, dual titles on the line. Mercedes Moné ends up winning, defending her title and winning the Strong Women's title by defeating Stephanie Vaquer in 60 minutes and 51 seconds.
Great night for Stephanie Vaquer. Not the best for Mercedes Moné.
No.
It was a little off.
A good Mercedes Moné match is sloppy, and the problem with sloppy is that it can be bad. And she wasn't bad here, but she wasn't great here.
It was a little clunky for my taste. Stuck the landing, I still think. I think
her new lucha stuff is not refined yet.
Yeah, and I think Stephanie just wanted to fight. Yes. The way Stephanie was wrestling this, I was like, this is a fight.
It looked like she was shooting at times.
Yeah, which obviously she was not. But
she is not Sexy Star.
Thank God. I think if Mercedes embraced a little more of that fight, this could have been a really great match. One of the best of the show, maybe second best. But even though it was clunky, it still worked for me. Because it's like I said to you when Vaquer hit the dragon screw on Mercedes, that was my pop of the night, folks, since La Mystica. That's Muto style, baby. You kidding me? That was nasty. I actually didn't mind the finish either. I kind of liked the moneymaker right into the bank statement, even though I don't really like the bank statement. But that looked almost better than usually just the moneymaker, if that makes sense. Because usually the moneymaker's like, oh, all right. But I just and we need to put over the move of the year, Stephanie Vaquer's
Yeah.
tope.
So I messaged
Not
you.
tope.
I
Dive,
think her springboard dive is one of my favorite moves in wrestling right now. Which, and I think, and I was also thinking about this. What are some of the best not finished, not signature move? I guess it would be a signature move for her, but at least let's say not non-finisher wrestling moves. What are some of the best ones? Stephanie Vaquer's springboard dive to the outside, I think, is fully up there.
it's amazing.
I think Mystico's Hurricane Rana is up there.
Oh yeah, big pop
like not a signature move at all, really.
Specifically head scissors.
Yes, he just does it. Well, he just does it with no arms. He just commits, and it always looks fluid.
And
he typically lands on his feet too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but she puts so much velocity on it. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love Stephanie Vaquer, if you haven't noticed.
She's got the intensity.
She's got everything. I wish she didn't lose. I knew she had to, but I wish she didn't lose. And then the doctor ruined my day. So
yeah, and then we're gonna get Mercedes versus Britt.
She's actually a dentist.
Yeah, dentists are doctors, I think.
Not my doctor.
I was gonna say not my dentist. I was like, I don't think you're going to a dentist.
Who's your favorite doctor in wrestling?
Who's your favorite dentist in wrestling? All right, so doctors in wrestling. Obviously, you got the dentist, Dr. Isaac Yankum. You got Dr. Britt Baker.
I got mine.
Okay, Dr.
No. It's actually El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr.
You got Dr. Wagner's. You got Dr. Cerebro. You got, were those doctors that were in the opening match on the Fantastica Mania show on last Super Viernes? Teaming up with Astro Boy? I think they were doctors. Those doctors. What other doctors we got? I think there's not a lot of doctors.
No, I just wanted to shout out El Hijo Dr. Wagner Jr.
We get a therapist. How about that? A therapist gimmick.
Anyway, we get it. Move on.
Anyways, IWGP World Heavyweight Title match. Tetsuya Naito defeats Jon Moxley, as we all expected. 17 minutes and 4 seconds. Scotty, would you like to guess the rating for this on Cage Match?
Probably like 4.5.
Pretty close. 4.38 out of 23
I didn't see a single person like this, so I figured it was pretty low.
This is a 2.5, 2.25, basically.
I gave it 2.
So what happened? What happened? Why didn't it work?
I've seen most people blame Naito.
The crowd wasn't into him at all and didn't give a shit about him.
And here's the thing: Naito doesn't give a shit about them. That's
the thing about Naito is he is not going to put the work if you don't care about what he's doing.
I saw a lot of people saying Naito's done, Naito's finished after this match,
which is not entirely wrong.
He's not okay. He's not the Naito of old.
He is Tana a couple years ago, where it's like he's definitely older and could start being cycling down, but we could also still use him.
He has no knees, obviously. He's barely got any eyesight.
His eyes are so bad he has to hold them open to see.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's not the Naito of old, but I don't think he's finished. Tanahashi's finished. You know, like that's what I see the reactions. I was like, no, Tanahashi's finished. Naito can still, pull a rabbit out of the hat. I saw it last year with the back-to-back Ospreay and Okada on the final night of G1. If that crowd's with him, he is whatever cortisone shot he took, whatever he's got going, he is kicking it into gear. This match was not good. I thought it was the worst match of the show. I don't think
I saw some people blaming Moxley and saying that Moxley was a failed test for New Japan and that they shouldn't have done this at all.
it wasn't.
I saw that from I saw that from New Japan fans, by the way.
Of course you did. They didn't want Moxley to be champion in the first place. I don't think it was successful. Did you find any of this to be successful?
We talked about it this morning. I think it was a good attempt to being successful.
It was worth taking an attempt.
I think people rejected it, and it was the wrong time to make that attempt. I think if you did that, if you announced Wrestle Dynasty and then had Moxley win the title, I think more people would be on board.
You know, it's funny. A lot of the people that said Naito was cooked are the same people that were really behind Moxley being the world champion.
Mm-hmm.
And they are now at the end blaming Naito. And it's like, you can read through that kind of, I think. At least I can.
So his title matches were obviously Naito. He defeats Naito in Windy City Riot in a match that was pretty good.
I really liked that match.
If I remember, pretty good. I think I was a little bit disappointed than most people. I think I was a low man. You had the Powerhouse Hobbs match, which we can kind of throw out that was an injury, and you know that things happen. The Ren Narita match at Wrestling Dontaku Night 2.
I have no recollection of that match.
I also haven't seen it yet, but 5.68 on Cage Match, 3.25 on Days rating. You have Moxley versus Shota Umino, Strong Resurgence, 34 minutes and 18 seconds. I did not like this match. I thought it was solid, but did not enjoy it. 7.75 on Cage Match, 4 3/4 by Dave. Jesus fucking Christ. You have the Lumberjack John Moxley Evil match, which I think
I had fun with that.
it wasn't a great match, but it was extremely fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 6 point.
Yeah, this
6 point something, and then this match.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think what this was putting over younger talent to try to showcase them as a world title contenders. The Evil match, which was the most fun out of all of these, and then Naito wins it back.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Naito doesn't care for America.
No.
He also doesn't really care for other promotions.
No.
Where did he try better when he came to America? The New Japan show, because that's the brand he represents. That's the brand he cares about.
And even then, it was America.
Like I watched it. I also thought he got his bell rung early a little bit. He seemed out of it early, like how they were going. Match didn't work. It's whatever.
Yeah, the crowd wasn't into anything that Naito was doing. They did not care about Naito. Moxley did the best he could here. And I understand putting the blame on Naito, but he's not that guy. He's not the guy that will show out and prove.
Everyone wants him to be Okada when
yes,
Okada came over. That's not what Naito does.
And I'm not a big Naito fan. I understand that this is Naito. This is not what Naito does. He's not a work rate match guy.
Oh, that's not true.
He can be because it's New Japan, but he is not an Ospreay.
He has some of the best matches ever.
True. Let me explain my statement. He is not a work rate guy in terms of speed per se. He is not an Ospreay, an Omega, even an Okada to a certain degree. He is more of a storyteller in the ring than he is a moves guy. Does that make sense?
I guess. I mean, his
wrestling ability is still higher than most people, but he is not necessarily a work rate moves guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a better storyteller than most.
And what was the story of this match, right? It was Moxley slowly kind of just losing it.
I have no idea.
To me, it was like a Tranquilo, Moxley slowly losing it. I thought they actually could have done a title switch on a DQ. I thought that would make more sense as a finish. I think it would have been a little cheap, and I think people would have been upset about that, but it would have actually made sense for the story because the finish just being just the finish was all right, fine. I would have liked if they played into the story of that they were setting up this idea in the first half of Moxley getting frustrated by Naito, getting a chair and all this sort of stuff. And I wish that played more into the finish.
To me, I don't know why people continue to expect Naito to give a shit when he's here.
I agree. I agree.
You know, like it's just not what he does. And I have no problem with that, truthfully. He likes to deliver where he lives, where the people love him. He's not a guy that needs to travel the world as a pro wrestler. Oh, he loves Mexico too. Um, you know, it's fine. I don't care. Like it's the match is over. I'm not one to rule Naito out because I saw what he did with Sonata, who was clearly hurt this year. Midway through that match. I saw what he did at the end of the G1 last year. It just takes the right situations. It takes him giving a shit. And that's always been a Naito thing, especially now where he's probably in pain most of the time.
Yeah.
But he knows New Japan needs him, so he does what he has to do.
Yeah, when he won it, I was like, do you think Naito feels anything right now? Do you think
No, did you see the way he reacted? He was like, all right, I'm going to kick Moxley out. I'm going to walk away. That's what he cared about.
It's like, all right, here's the thing. Hit the pose.
I showed up. I got the belt back. Now I can go home.
Disappointing. I don't go as far as probably saying that the Moxley thing didn't really work. I think the goal of it was to elevate younger guys as contenders. Now let's have the debate of like, did it succeed? Hobbs, obviously we don't know because he's injured. Ren Narita, I don't really think so, but I don't think he was much to begin with. So whatever. Shooter, maybe a little bit, but not for me too much.
We talked about the young guys earlier. After the Yota Tsuji performance today,
it's tough.
I'm done, man. I'm done with these guys. I'm done with these four.
The Musketeers.
It's all about Oiwa now. And I don't even want him to go back to New Japan. I want him to stay in Noah as long as possible right now. He can go back to New Japan when they figure shit out. Yeah,
it's tough days right now. Tough days.
Well, it was one of the biggest matches in Noah right now. Him and Kaito. Think about that. What big match do any of those four have in New Japan that interests you right now?
That's the thing. I would pick someone like a Yota Tsuji to have an interesting match, but he has time and time again kind of buffed it on the on big matches. Except the New Japan Cup, that was pretty good. But a lot of people that point to Goto on that one.
Damn right. Like, I just don't think they got it.
Here's the thing.
Right now, they don't got it.
Yeah, I'm not waving the white flag off of them. I'm not hand waving them completely because in terms of perspective of like how New Japan does things, which is a extremely slow pace, they don't have it now, but they don't necessarily need to have it now. But because of how things have shaken out with Ospreay and Okada and how this current generation of David Finlay and Evil Sonata isn't working, and how the generation above that, Zack Sabre Jr., Taichi, and Shingo aren't being really pushed really right now, kind of. And then you have the generation above that with the Naitos, who is the only guy really left who is just super old, but he has to win the title because no one in the generation below him is up to par or ready with Zack Sabre Jr. or Taichi or Shingo for whatever reason. So everyone's been like, you got to push these guys because we need something. And there's nothing.
No. I was always a little bit lower on Yota Tsuji than the public.
Yeah.
I did not actually enjoy being right today. I want everyone to know that. It's like, because I was like really excited for him because he really liked his time in CMLL. So I was like, oh, he's gonna go crazy.
Nothing. Main event, AEW World Title match here. Swerve Strickland defeats Will Ospreay in 27 minutes and 6 seconds. You messaged me that this felt like it was a match from a different show, maybe a different year in AEW.
Yeah. Anyone that still denies that Swerve, a lot of people for some reason just couldn't accept Swerve as the guy. A lot of the time you saw people saying like, oh, he's just holding the belt for Ospreay. Oh, he's, things like that.
We've even talked about on the show that being a possibility or something. But
Yeah,
we were all
but
like, but also it's weird.
he is a genuine superstar. And he felt every bit of it tonight. Both him and Ospreay. These two felt like the top two guys in the company. Between these two, Mercedes' entrance, those are the ones that popped out to me. And from the Ospreays and the just Swerve. Swerve has a confidence about him that you can't teach. That I think makes people believe easier. Like if you see someone that believes in themselves, it's easier to get behind them. And he believes in himself.
Yeah.
And once the bell rang, you're watching two guys that believe they're the best. And they showed it. It was another league tonight. They were in another league compared to everyone else on this show. This show had some of the best in the world on it, but these two were why this crowd showed up. I said to you, 15 matches is a lot. They're going to be tired for the main event. No. They only gave a shit about the main event. Little did I know.
The main event actually gave them what they wanted.
Yeah, that's why they were there from the opening bell. Big fight feel, and they delivered on that. They just hit some crazy stuff, whether it was the Hurricanrana off the barricade. That was a crazy spot.
The pile driver on the barricade.
The pile driver on the barricade. The swerve stomp from the top rope onto the announce table while freaking Ospreay standing.
Mm-hmm.
That was nuts. My only critique of this match, the reason it went from potential match of the year contender to just below it. Don Callis, man, 2 years in a row, he pissed me off. He pissed me off with a stupid screwdriver, and I understand that was the story of the match.
And it did involve itself into the
it kind of did, because the hesitance is what ultimately cost Ospreay in the end.
Plus, you can't forget also a ref bump before Don Callis.
Right. So, like,
was it effective? Did it convey what continued maybe a little rift between Don Callis, or that Will Ospreay didn't have?
It will.
Like instead of what I liked about the Don Callis thing is that instead of doing the thing where, I don't know if I can do the Tiger Driver, I think it was right before that where he's like, I'm gonna go for it, and then Swerve countered it and all that sort of stuff. What instead they used to replace that as the sort of crisis of faith moment was instead having Don Callis give him the screwdriver, and that be the crisis of faith moment that cost him, not the Tiger Driver. So I thought that was effective as a sort of quote unquote swerve and sort of the match layout that we all thought was going to happen into this other sort of thing that aligned with Don Callis.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't like is the visual pin on Swerve because of the ref bump. I didn't like that. I don't know why. I don't think Ospreay needed the idea of like a visual pin during the match. But it was kind of eliminated when Swerve pretty much murdered the guy.
Yeah, there was a lot. That's what was like. It didn't play into the finish. He did hit Ospreay with like 4 moves in a row or something like that.
And in those kickouts, I didn't hate because we know that Swerve brings out the big pressure JML driver only in the biggest of moments, right? He hasn't had to use that in a long time, it feels like. But he did here, and I think that's good. And ultimately, it protects Ospreay, which is what they want to do. He's their top. Swerve isn't. I guess Swerve is a babyface, but Swerve's like he's just the world champion. Like he's the guy, and Ospreay's the top babyface.
Yeah,
and you felt that through this match. It was a fantastic match.
Yeah,
the match the show desperately needed. The best Forbidden Door main event yet. I'll give them that. Oh, I think it was better than Okada and Danielson, and I think it was definitely better than Moxley and Tanahashi.
Sure.
So, great match, and I look forward to seeing Mr. Ospreay versus Danny G on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think that should be very good. I'm glad you brought up Danny G because the production element of this
show.
If you thought Don Callis took you out, the production element of cutting to a wide shot that was slowly zooming in and then cutting back to the match and then deciding, okay, we're going to cut back, and you're not there fully yet, and you sort of just see the box and you really see people, but then you see like, wait, is that someone we know? And you cut back real quickly to see a big spot happen that you kind of almost missed, and you're like, what the hell was that? Because you almost weren't paying attention, and you cut back and you see, oh, it's Danny Garcia, he's in that box. And you're like, okay, cool. We cut back to the actual wrestling match. And then we cut back to this wide shot zooming out from the box kind of into the entire arena. What the fuck was the purpose of that? If you're going to set up a shot, set up the shot first, then commit to it instead of cutting away, cutting back, cutting away, cutting back. It's just amateur directing. When you have, I don't know how much most people realize like how these things, how like a control room works like that. Like I've been taught how to do this sort of stuff before. Like you have the technical director, the TD, who is the actual guy on the buttons that presses the buttons to load this camera, this shot, whatever. He's the guy that's doing all the actual stuff here. That's pressing the buttons, and then you have a director next to them that is calling, all right, cut the camera 2, take, cut the camera 3, load 3, take, load 2, take, load 4. They're calling that over and over again. I've been in the control room for the Kennedy Center Honors, and I saw this, and it went perfectly smoothly. So if you're cutting back and forth while the shots aren't prepped, that is a bad director. That is a bad director. That guy is not doing a guy or gal or whoever is not doing a good job. And that's the same thing of the Kevin Dunn of it all. It's like person's not doing a good job directing, or that Kevin Dunn at least was a style. Here, I don't think this was a style. I think this was just piss poor directing, and I was upset with it. Anyways, the match was great. Main event was great. Will Ospreay continues to be one of the best wrestlers in the world. Swerve. Do you feel now that he's actually firmly in the main event of a pay-per-view, do you feel that he is now a top wrestler in the world, in the year today, in the world, whatever? Do you think now he is firmly cemented? We had some questions of Joe, we had some questions of Christian, and granted, this is Will Ospreay. Do you think now that he is beaten Ospreay, he is firmly cemented as like a potential draw, a potential big new guy for this company? Is he certified platinum?
Yeah, he's the guy. He is the guy that should be main eventing All In London 2024.
All right. The question comes against who?
I want it to be Hangman so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Their chemistry is just so good.
I know.
Back
to Swerve just real quickly. He's great. he is
great.
I agree. I would like one more match before then at some point, just because after Will Ospreay, it's like, okay, I want to see one more match to really certify platinum. I think what is before platinum? Gold? I think he's certified gold. Is he platinum? I don't know if he's certified platinum. Ospreay's certified platinum, right? But I think Swerve is getting there for sure. Is he a draw? Buys sound a little down. Tickets were a little down. We'll see. Only 2,000 down or so, which is in line with a lot of their attendance being 2,000 down.
I know we're supposed to blame the
main
world champion when things aren't hot. He didn't take it when things were hot. He's trying to build it up. I thought, it's a long-term thing. If they are any higher than it was when he started as world champion, it's a success. In terms of my overall entertainment, it's pretty successful so far.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, I thought Forbidden Door was a show to get back on track. Maybe, ending on such a bright point will help. I think that will help a lot.
Yeah.
It's now about the follow-up. What does Beach Break bring in Chicago besides CM Punk chance?
Which I can't wait.
What does he's gonna be in Blood and Guts, I'm sure.
They've already started teasing that idea for sure.
So that's interesting too. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. But I'm more excited for Swerve than probably anything else right now.
Right? Oh,
in
that's
AEW.
perfect. That's perfect.
Well, I mean, they made sure I wasn't excited for Mercedes, so that was tough.
The next stuff for AEW Dynamite is, of course, going to be this Wednesday, Dynamite Beach Break 2024, Owen Hart men's tournament quarterfinals, Jeff Jarrett versus the wild card. Many suspect that it will be, in fact, Adam Page. Owen Hart Foundation women's tournament semifinal match, Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander. We'll find out if for certain that their chemistry can still exist in the singles competition here. Another men's semifinal match here, Pac versus Bryan Danielson. Great. AEW International title match, Will Ospreay versus Daniel Garcia as well.
I like the idea that Bryan Danielson said, "I'm only wrestling Dragon Gate."
Fine by me. Fine by me completely. New Japan, on the other hand, as well, if you just want to look at them looking ahead, they have 2 Korakuen Hall shows, I believe, next week.
This week, Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? This is the 3rd. I read that 7-7, not 7-3. Yes, this Wednesday and this Friday, I believe. 7-5, 7-3, and 7-5. So they have New Japan Soul Tour Night 6, which will have 4 of the G1 Climax block qualifying tournament matches. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Oleg Boltin. We'll find out about Hiroshi. No one knows anything. No one asked. Kenta versus Callum Newman. TJP versus Taichi, and Tomohiro Ishii versus Yoshihashi. And then on the 5th, also in this is Tokyo Budokan. Tokyo Budokan, not the Tokyo Korakuen Hall, but the Tokyo Budokan. What? In Tokyo is going to be a 6-man tag team match, but also the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match between El Desperado and Doki.
So a unique arena. I don't think wrestling's has been here in a long
I think it's new.
time.
I think it's new.
Well, I know all the I don't know if anyone knows this, but all the other big arenas in Japan are shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oda Ward's not going right now.
Is there a specific reason that we know about, or
I forget. There was, but it's 2:41 a.m. My brain is not registering right now.
That's fine.
But yeah, it's why a lot of these big companies are running Yokohama or stuff. So Tokyo Budokan's different one. And I think Nippon, well, you wouldn't run the show in Nippon Budokan anyway. So Nippon Budokan's open though. Obviously, that's where Destination is. But yeah, it's the usual bigger but not humongous arenas in Tokyo are not open. So it's you got Korakuen, and yeah. So this will be an interesting one.
This will be an interesting one for sure. Well, that is without any other thoughts and comments and questions about this Forbidden Door show. I think that is it for us. 2.5 hours. Jesus fucking Christ! I think we went longer than Ring Post Radio this morning.
We did 5 hours of content.
And people say we don't do enough for them. No one says that, but I just like to guilt trip a little bit, I guess. Thank you everybody for listening to this. Thank you everybody listening. I'm off my game. I'm off my groove. You messed up my groove. Hold on. Don't we have Yeet as a soundbite as well?
No, but I gotta get it. We're gonna bring sound bites back.
Hold on. You hit it. I'm gonna do 3, 2, 1, and
I don't have it.
No. Stay with me, Scotty. Scotty, do 3, 2, 1, and on 1, hit the Yeet face.
All right.
3, 2, 1. If I can figure out how to time it so that it's that sound bite and that face at the same time, that's the goal. No, I'm not doing it now. Anyways, that's been Ring Post Radio. That's the Forbidden Door review. It is 2:43 in the morning. I got to wake up in less than 5 hours for work to work a 9-hour shift. So thank you everybody for listening to this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or the Twitter or whatever that you're watching this on live. If you're still awake with us, we greatly appreciate it. Sorry. Let me just get more of my screen here. And if you like what we do here, then make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast feed wherever you get it. We have a lot of great content on the Count Out Network, not just from us from Ring Post Radio, but Start on Road, Jumping Knee Pod, Your Dose of Death, Ichiban Sweetcast. We have a lot of great content on the Count Out Network. So please check us out. If you have any questions for us for our quarterly Q&As for the Patreon, patreon.com/countoutpod, then you can message those out to us. Tomorrow is when we'll start collecting it. You can see it on all of our social media at countoutpod, typically everywhere. And yeah, I think that's it. I think Scotty is sighed because he is done with all my plugs. But yeah, we'll do the Q&As and stuff. You can also leave a voicemail again. You can leave us a voicemail 2525 ring PR 252-574-6477 is that voicemail. Leave a voicemail for us. We'll play it on the air. That's it. Scotty, final thoughts?
Bye.
Bye, everybody.